All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to something different again, although we have done this before. I'm joined by Tucker. Tucker, how you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Ready to talk about a big belt.
Yeah. So I can't remember. I don't feel like we need to give the VODlets any sort of introduction here, other than we're going to do the same thing we did for the last video, except with World Heavy with the other belt. Because most of it we'll explain when we actually start recording the video, right? So, should we just get into it?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. I guess we should.
Okay, yeah.
Jeez.
If anybody's tuned in and wants to ask some questions as we go along, I can't remember if we. I mean, you can edit out. Yeah, tell you what, we'll take questions if they come up, and if you don't like them, you can edit them out when you edit the video.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that should be. I don't think chat should be on screen for this though. I will keep an eye on that to make sure it's not, because obviously that wouldn't be good. It doesn't look like it's enabled on this scene though. So yeah, without further ado, do you want to like intro the video?
Yeah, I guess. I'm trying to remember how I did the first one at all. I guess it was very just up in the air.
You could just do something here, and if you don't end up liking it, you can record an intro in post.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
So
Yeah, you're right. Good call.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
All right. I open with. Well, hello, folks. We're back. It's more things. Oh, that was very echoey. Jesus. All right. Bringing it down a level. We're back. It's more tier list thing. Tier listing. That's a thing, right?
More tier listing. Yeah, that's it.
More tier listing.
Another tier list. Although actually, the same tier list.
That's true. Yeah, we're just adding to it, aren't we? Yeah.
Which I think it could get a little messy, but I think it'll be interesting comparatively. So, oh, got something in my throat. What are we doing today? What's different about this one?
So this one, the last time we did the WWE Championship. So this time we're doing the World Heavyweight Championship, the big gold belt, if you will. The pretty one that they took from us.
Yeah, and they gave us a cheap imitation.
Yeah, later. The child-size belt with the big logo in the middle.
It's not as small as it looks. It's just weirdly proportioned.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
It's actually quite a large. It's quite a large belt, I think.
All I ask is that it's thin. All I ask is that it's bigger than the world title in the video games. That thing is
it tiny?
It is like a super tiny. I have no clue why that's the version of Big Gold they choose to have in there, but it's so tiny. It's so weird.
So we're Weirdest doing the same period as the last video. So it's 2002 all the way through to WrestleMania 24, 2008. Do we want to explain why there are two belts and the context of the two belts? Because I think that, I mean, I know most people watching this are going to have watched some semblance of the era, but I think there are a lot of people who won't have.
Yeah, so I guess, man, how far back do I want to go with this? WCW dies, okay? So WCW goes out of business, essentially. They don't have a TV deal, which basically makes the whole company null. Because they're pretty much, I think Turner has equity in it and stuff, and so it's essentially the company's company. Turner kind of owns WCW, but not really. They could have found another TV deal, but once they realized they weren't getting the TNT spot, I think the Eric Bischoff group that was going to try to buy it out, they were like, fuck this. This is dumb. It's not going to work. From there, Vince McMahon buys the company for like $5 million or something like that.
Is that really the number? That's crazy.
Yeah. You could just like crowdfund that now. Just WCW just still be alive. People would just, yeah, it's crazy. It's that little, and that's like the whole thing. That's the tape libraries. Most of the contracts, like
some of them not though, right? If I remember correctly,
the bigger ones, the WWE just is like, we're not gonna bother buying these out. We'll just wait till it's done. Like they're happy at home, so whatever. What can we do? And then from there, well, yeah, they get the logos, they get the rights to all that stuff, the tape library, and most of the talent contracts immediately. Um, and so Vince's first idea is essentially to give WCW a TV show. There's like the pilots kind of on Raw where they do matches that are entirely WCW. I think it's Scott Hudson and somebody else on commentary. I don't remember who it is, but it's like it's just WCW guys. There's a ref wearing like a WCW shirt. They changed the ropes, they changed the lighting, they changed the Tron a little bit. And I think it's like Booker T and Buff Bagwell. Buff Bagwell. Anyways, that's the big notable one. Essentially, nobody wants to pick up WCW because the brand is so goddamn toxic. They're terrified of it, even though it's owned by a completely different guy, managed by completely different people. They're like, no, absolutely no way. This brand is the mud. So Vince is still trying really hard because as the invasion stuff, which has kind of become what their compromise, I guess, was, they'll do a big invasion where all these guys come in, and it was kind of started anyways. So, go through with it. During that whole time, the ratings are fucking nosediving because it's terrible. It's just insane. Like, it's just random shit going on. Like literally like the worst parts of that Attitude Era booking where shit just keeps going down for some reason. But with like double your guys. So now there's like so much more shit going on at any given point. The ratings are dying. And so here we go. How do we turn things around? Well, ratings were really good when we had WCW to compete against, but nobody will touch WCW. So we'll take our own brand, SmackDown, our second show, the one that like is on the cable, or not the cable networks even, I think, right? They're like terrestrial networks.
And on like UPS at this point.
Yeah, UPN, I think, or whatever. UPN. I don't exactly know the differences totally. I'm a little younger than that, thankfully.
I'm old enough, but I'm not American enough to know this.
See, fair enough. Yeah. I believe that it's like it's available in less homes, I think, or maybe they were on cable then. Maybe they were on cable, and that's why it was less homes. Anyways, SmackDown has generally a lower viewership than Raw, but whatever. We have to do this now. We're going to split the talent roster in half. Half of you work Raw, half of you work SmackDown. And so the idea, I believe, I'm trying to think back here, they were going to do one belt the whole time for the brand split, because that's the initial thing. Who's the champ at the start? Is it
Brock?
Is it Triple H?
Wait, how far back? What do you mean at the start?
At the start of the brand split.
Well, when does the brand split happen that you're talking about here?
Like May 2002? I'm thinking It'd Triple H.
Triple H then, yeah, after Mania.
Right? We did the WWE title one, so yeah.
He's here in C tier, where he belongs.
Yeah, look at him.
He's gonna add a few more to that tier by the end of this video.
That he is. Man, C tier general.
He's only in there once so far.
Good for him, to be fair. Anyways, so we're a couple months into the brand split, and I don't exactly know the reasoning behind this. I want to...
Well, they'd already unified the belt. I think that's where we need to start here, is that they had the WCW belt during the invasion, and then Jericho wins them both, and then they carry them around as two belts for a while, and then... Does Brock beat Triple H, or am I missing a step here?
So there's like a couple steps in here. So if I recall correctly, it's Triple H, then it goes on to Hulk Hogan.
Is it Hogan that gets the new belt then? Or is it Triple H that gets the new belt?
I think it might be Triple H who gets it for like a week, and then
Hogan wins it.
Because I want to say there are videos and things of Triple H with that belt, and it's weird.
And then by the end of the summer, I know it's when it's on Brock when this happens. Brock signs exclusively with SmackDown.
Exclusively to SmackDown, yeah, which
with
happens
Stephanie
in an
McMahon.
angle where he gets in a car with Stephanie McMahon and speeds away before Eric Bischoff can, or not even Eric Bischoff. I don't think. I don't even know who it is.
Stone Cold.
Oh, it might be Stone Cold. Yeah, because it might be Eric and Stone Cold. They might be doing the um
Oh, it's
sheriff
what's it?
thing at
Sheriff,
that
yeah,
point, or
yeah.
the proto sheriff thing, because that happens twice. They
Hmm.
have him come in as the co-GM. That's what it is. They do that for an entire year. Bischoff finally gets rid of him, and then he comes back a couple months later as the sheriff of Raw, and they just restart the whole feud. It's good
And so,
times in
in
early
response to
2000s.
that, Bischoff is like, "Well, we need a belt. There's Big Gold is just laying around because the original version of this belt is basically just the Big Gold that Triple H had earlier that year."
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it basically is. Yeah,
They change it a lot, especially by about 2005 ish. But the first version, especially the one that we're going to talk about from November, is very like it's just very much the same belt as far as I'm aware as
yeah,
the previous one.
yeah. I believe so as well.
But it's gold instead
I
of
don't know anything.
dual plated, which it had
Right.
been
I
at
don't
one
know.
point.
I don't really know anything about the size stuff for the belt. Like, I don't know when
I
it
think it was bigger
grows in
and
size and
wider.
shrinks.
Yeah, because the old crumb rinds were like really wide, whereas
Yeah.
it become a little bit more what's the word? Symmetric. A little bit more symmetric. No,
Yeah.
they're always symmetric, but they become a little bit more properly proportioned
Yeah.
as the WWE run goes on.
Looks better in like photos and stuff like that around people's waists and things. Fits a little bit better.
But either way, Eric Bischoff just gives this belt to Triple H, and then from there it becomes a regular title.
Yes.
Should we just jump ahead to 05 at this point, or is there anything else we need to talk about with context?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, I think that covers everything.
So in 05, then it switches brands. Batista, the current champion, goes over to SmackDown, and the Raw champion, who is Cena, goes over to the SmackDown champion, who is Cena, goes over to Raw, and it stays on SmackDown for the rest of this run, the rest of this period. Then, yeah, so I think that's it on the context. Although it's worth stressing that in some ways, from that 2002 period, it was like the main belt of the company because it was on Raw.
Yeah.
And then there's an argument that in 2005 when it switches, it becomes more of a secondary world title, and you see that kind of with the names that end up holding it.
Yeah, definitely by like late 07, mid 07,
Yeah,
all of 07. It's definitely. Ooh,
I feel like
damn.
you're casting a big shadow over 07 for a single reign that occurs in that year.
Maybe. I think two of them though.
Well, I think you'd wait. Oh, so who's the other guy you're not convinced of?
Probably Edge, man.
Okay, all right. I'm surprised. I thought you were. Look, we'll get to it. But I thought you were an Edge stan. He's Canadian.
Yeah. Big Edge guy.
I kind of thought you were a big Edge guy, actually. But we can talk about that later because we have a lot of Edge to talk about.
Fair.
The last thing I wanted to go over from the last video is that I think one thing that felt a bit messy that I think I have a solution for is I think in the last video we were sort of considering the title change match as both part of the new reign and part of the old reign, and I did some thinking on it, and I think the best way to handle that, in my opinion, is to count the title change only as part of the new reign, not as part of the old reign.
Okay, I think that.
I think that's what it, because what you'll remember from the title change is the man who has the belt after it, you know. So even though you can make an argument for, well, the previous champion definitely put something into that, I think if we're going to pick one, my preference would be that we count that match towards the new reign.
Yeah, okay. Fair. I generally agree with that. Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to go through, or should we get started?
I think we're just good to jump into this with Triple H.
Yeah, so he gets awarded the belt, like we said. He faces Ric Flair on Raw, Jeff Hardy on Raw, then Rob Van Dam at Unforgiven, Bubba Ray Dudley on Raw, then I don't remember this, unifies the belt with the IC title We might have to talk about that because I don't remember that at all. And by the time the next match comes along, he definitely doesn't have the IC title, which is the Elimination Chamber, the first ever Elimination Chamber, where he eventually finally loses the title to Shawn Michaels in Shawn's only Shawn's second match since coming back. The only other match he had at this point was against Triple H at SummerSlam, I believe. So yeah, do you know what happened with this Intercontinental title thing?
All right, you want to know something insane?
Go on.
I'm looking at this. He is the last Intercontinental Champion until May of 2003.
Triple H?
The IC title. Yep, the IC title
so
goes
it's
dead.
Like literally a unification match.
Yeah, the IC title goes dead for about, and this would be.
Am I right? Remember, just coming back. Does Rob Van Dam win it in May? Is that who brings it back? A ladder match? Yeah, I remember this.
No, sorry, no. It's Christian.
Okay, then I don't remember this.
it's Christian.
Okay. Cool.
I popped myself.
I had no idea that that title got unified. So this belt immediately gets unified into the IC title,
which
is what
makes some sense.
Wait, is this is the Oval IC at this point? Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, it is.
Yes.
That's
and
crazy.
The US title doesn't exist yet, so there's a time period here where we're rocking world titles, tag belts,
women's,
and maybe just the women.
Yeah,
because I don't think the Cruiserweight belt exists until 03 for sure. Or maybe it does.
I don't remember it ever going away, but I might be wrong.
I mean, I didn't remember the
I didn't remember the IC going away either. So. No, you're right. So who knows?
Hold on, I'm searching here real quick. Oh god, of course they made like 2 versions of the same belt. Okay, not that one. Good to see when this starts. Okay, right. So it takes the... Yeah, so December of 01 is the first WWF Cruiserweight title match where Tajiri defeats Crash. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, real winner there. Yeah, so I guess we're rocking... That's such a weird thing. I didn't know this existed at all.
You mean the unification?
Yeah, like I didn't know there was a period where we were just rocking like world titles, tag belts, auxiliary things. Auxiliary. Oh, that's such a terrible way to put it. I feel like that's how they think about it, though. So
yep. No, you're probably right. Special attraction, maybe.
Yeah.
Nicer way of putting it. Novelty.
The literally like the women and midgets from like the 40s. God damn it. Fucking wrestling. Anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess Triple H did kill the IC title for a little while, which is
considering it was on Kane, I think that was probably for the best.
Yeah, title for title, eh? So
I think so. Obviously, I haven't actually watched any of these matches. Have you? I've
actually seen,
except for the Elimination Chamber, which are obviously not counting.
Okay, I've seen the Chamber for sure, but okay, it doesn't count. That's fine. I've seen the Ric Flair one, and I saw the RVD one at some point in my life.
Okay, the RVD one is the one I'm most interested in because I feel like that's what this reign is living or dying on in a lot of ways. That and the Flair match, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything positively from either of those matches that you've seen?
Okay, so the Triple H RVD one is pretty much the match you'd expect there. Like,
so it's good.
It's an 18-minute Triple H
pay-per-view
main event. So it's like it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's probably disappointing then because I think RVD is a guy he could probably have something a bit better with.
Yep, and obviously, I mean, doesn't really matter.
There's not a lot here, is there? I think one of the biggest things against this reign is that he just gets given the belt.
It's I mean, to be fair though, it's an awesome character moment. Like it sets up who Triple H is for. I mean, I guess Triple H always was this guy, but it kind of, established, like he's that guy. Who else is that guy? There's only one other guy who's that guy, and it's Seth Rollins. But
he's
I don't know,
the company guy.
Yeah, I mean the guy that they would just bestow a new toy on.
Okay. I think that it lacks a little bit of substance, but I think I can see where you're coming from, where it's like, well, this is our guy. This is who the suit's like, because he also wears a suit.
And also even like in the character, right? He's a weasel. That's not any way to win a title. To win
you see,
a world
by this
title.
point, I'm sure. When did he turn heel? Because he was a babyface at WrestleMania.
I guess he turned heel
against
some point
Hogan, right? I think he turned heel against Hogan, kind of. But he's so based in that, though, so I don't know if we can call him a heel. I remember he is actually quite based when he's facing
based Triple H.
My instinct was C for this, but I could be convinced to move up to B if you like the character moment of him getting the belt.
Oh, wait, I'm missing a massive piece of the Unforgiven thing.
Okay.
So it is a Triple H pay-per-view main event. Right down to a T with the fuck finish proper. This is where Ric Flair aligns with Triple H.
Right.
Which they set up. Well, they didn't really set up, but they swerved on with the initial title match being Ric Flair, because Ric Flair came in and was like, that's my belt. It looks like my belt, so I'm gonna beat you up and take it now. And then Triple H beats him. And Ric Flair, I think, tries to help Jeff Hardy out on that TV World Heavyweight title match.
Gotcha.
Only to swerve at the pay-per-view because Triple H is the man now. Yeah. He beat me.
So. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I don't know anything about the Bubba Ray Dudley match or the Kane match. I would say, I guess I'd go C. There's enough, like, kind of decent stuff built in that first month, that September little run to get Flair with Triple H there, I think is pretty nice.
It sounds like you're leaning towards B then, if you've got some good. Like, to me, this is nowhere near F.
No, I don't think it is either. Oh, right, yeah, I forget we don't have a D tier.
Yeah, so to remind, because actually that's a good point, because we didn't really go over it at the start. But the way I always like to think of tier list, I think the sensible way of doing it is that B is average, C is below average, A is above average, and then S is like exceptional, and then F is exceptionally bad.
Yeah, I think I'd go with C. Like, I think I'd go below average. I mean, the start of this Ric Flair Triple H stuff is interesting, but it's going to kind of just float around here for a bit anyways until we get the kids involved. And
it's
then
not good enough for you to go into B.
Yeah, and then the matches are unremarkable for the most part.
For now, I'm just going to put them in a tier list, and we can sort of order them at the end, because I think that'll save us a little bit of mess.
Sure, yeah.
Cool. All right, Shawn Michaels then wins it inside the Elimination Chamber, then loses to RVD by DQ on a Raw, and then in December faces Triple H again in 3 Stages of Hell. It goes 38 minutes, and then he eventually and he loses the belt right back to Triple H. So there's not a lot here at this reign. We're basically just looking at the Elimination Chamber match. But that Elimination Chamber match is great.
Right? Oh, it's really great. It's fantastic.
The story's great. The title change is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, just a fantastic match. One of the very few things that months ago, when we had first talked about doing this, I went out of my way to see. Probably because it was so early on in the watch order for me.
It's the one match that I went this week and went to do a little bit of watching. I was like, well, the first thing I'm going to watch is the Elimination Chamber again.
Yeah.
And
it's just fantastic.
It's also like just the roster that was in it is a pretty, Kane aside, everyone else in that chamber is like pretty, like I don't love all of them, but they're all essential era pieces. And the fact that they did this in a post brand split world with a SmackDown that had its own group of 6 or 7 recognizable stars, is really impressive. For people who don't know, it's Booker T, Chris Jericho, Rob Van Dam, Kane, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. It's built there are a few moments that are a little bit like but that's kind of just the multi-man WWE disease. Like there's a point where somebody is I think Triple H is got Chris Jericho. No, it's Jericho. Jericho's got Triple H in the walls towards the end of the match, and Shawn Michaels just decides to super kick Jericho for some reason when Triple H is about to tap out. But that's I mean that's just what you're gonna get from WWE Multi-Man. And at least Shawn pins Jericho after that. Otherwise, it's really good. It's very much like a extrapolation of like the style of the time done to its best without all of the bullshit. Most of the bullshit. Although there's a point that I was surprised whenever I watched it because I'd obviously seen a lot of Elimination Chamber matches, even the first couple times I'd seen this one, even though it was the first one. And there's a point early in the match where someone gets slammed into the chamber wall and the door and the wall comes off a little bit. I'm like, oh, surely Flair's going to get in there or something. And then I don't think it ever comes up again for the rest of the match. So I think that match is great. I think the title change is great. I think the Shawn return is handled so well up until this December match where they're like, never mind. That I think this is a strong A-tier reign. I think this is one of the early reigns that I remember the most is this Shawn Michaels run, even though it's so short.
I think I'd agree on A. I was thinking B more, but I guess that is average. I gotta keep that in mind. So I'd probably go A then as well. Really,
I think the honestly, argument for B is that there's not a lot there, but I think what is there is so strong that I think it's enough to put it into A. Like this Elimination Chamber match is arguably the best singles Elimination Chamber match ever,
and it's the first one.
Yeah,
which is nuts, dude. Like when I was watching this, the thing that I kept thinking to myself was like, they do so much here. Like I really thought it took a couple. It took like at least to the next year to like 03 to get to the Goldberg thing where he breaks the glass of the pod. And it's like, no, they do that. They just do it off rip. They're like, yeah, cool. You can do this. You can do these things. You can jump off a thing.
The RVD jump into him getting eliminated, and then Shawn does it later in the match. Yeah, it's really well structured.
Yeah, which, I mean, even that was like, I don't know if you know or not, but was like a fuck up. Like RVD legit like fucked up his arm real bad and was supposed to stick around a lot longer. Yep. He was supposed to stick around a lot longer, but immediately fucked himself up.
It did feel like it was a little early. So that makes sense, but I didn't know that.
And if I'm not wrong, he also fucks up Triple H. Like they both get fucked up on that, and Triple H just has to keep fucking going. Which I think then people say is the reason why Triple H never puts him over and shit. But that was probably never in the cards anyways. Yeah, like I think they say that's why Triple H dislikes him, because he hurt him.
That seems... I don't know how I feel about that. I don't... That strikes me as probably something that's not true, but...
Yep, I would probably agree. Yep.
Okay. Are you all right with A?
Yeah, I'd go A for this one. It's pretty great.
Next Triple H run then. 2 Triple H runs. Surely this will be the last one.
Of course.
So he wins it in December. 3 stages of hell.
Match?
Then he loses to Scott Steiner by DQ. A lot of people losing by DQ in this era. Then he beats Scott Steiner at No Way Out. And then he beats Booker T at WrestleMania. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that match. No contest with Booker T on a Raw with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee. Loses to Kevin Nash by DQ. Then beats Ric Flair. Beats Kevin Nash in a street fight at Insurrection. Hell in a Cell match with Kevin Nash. I did not know that match happened. That one slipped my memory.
Yeah, that's the bad blood one. Yeah.
Then on Raw... It's Triple H versus Kane again in a title versus mask match. I guess Kane gets unmasked there. Then Triple H, Rob Van Dam, Falls Count Anywhere, no disqualification in Buffalo. That sounds like a banger. So then Heat with Maven, the star of Heat, the ace of Heat.
Ace of Heat, yeah.
And he manages to hold it all the way to the next Elimination Chamber match, which is in November at Survivor Series. This one's with Jericho, Goldberg, Nash,
August
Orton,
at SummerSlam,
Shawn Michaels. You're right. I just read that completely wrong because I saw an S. And then
Good.
finally loses it to Goldberg in a title versus career match at Unforgiven. So this is a long ass reign. This is, if anything, the reign of terror.
This is the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So
is
where do we want to start?
in general.
Should we just start with the WrestleMania match? Because I think it's going to be the one that we're both like sort of uncontroversially in agreement on, in that it's awful in every way.
It is awful. I do just want to preface this whole thing by saying, having it laid out here like this might be the worst world title reign I've ever seen in my life.
Interesting.
In my life.
Elaborate. Why?
There is no... Okay, Triple H is a guy who can get through decent professional wrestling matches through his use of gimmicks, weapons, etc. He can do it if you just don't think about it too hard. It also helps when you have people who have kind of very diverse movesets for him to play against. It's much better for their comebacks. Who do we have here? We have Scott Steiner, who by 2003 can't move. He was supposed to go to Mania to fight Triple H. They kill that thing after 2 outings because it's so bad. They rush the Booker T thing in there because they're trying to find something to do. We're going to talk about that, I think, in full shortly. Because Jesus Christ. Then we immediately go into the Kevin Nash stuff, which 2003 Kevin Nash, holy shit. What are we doing here? This man can't move. He really is just going through like WCW guys.
I'm going to interject to say it on to their defense. This Kevin Nash feud is a street fight and then a Hell in a Cell match. So there's a lot of crutches being used here.
Okay, I agree and I see that, but the thing is, both of them need to lead on that crutch.
Really,
and there's only so much room on one crutch, man. I don't know what to say. Somebody's got to stand on their own. Triple H versus Kane in the mask thing on TV is probably fine because the stakes are big enough that it feels probably worthwhile. That RVD no DQ false count anywhere thing, I'm certain probably ends with Kane killing RVD, and that's why he loses. Because
right.
Kane got mad at RVD after he lost his mask. No clue about the Heat match. The Chamber, I only remember Goldberg eliminating almost everybody, I think, and then Triple H hitting him with a sledgehammer in the head, and that was it. He was dead. It was over. And then obviously we don't include the other title switch. So what the hell have you got here? You've got Triple H, playing ring general, I guess, leading a bunch of more limited workers around outside.
I don't know if I see this. So I hear you on the Steiner and the Nash, but then if you take out the rest, yeah, and the Kane, but the rest of the highlights
Flair.
of this are this is 03 Flair is still pretty
okay.
good.
Yeah, you're right. He's fine.
But the rest of the highlights on this are Shawn in a gimmick match, right? Rob Van Dam in a gimmick match. Booker in a feud that I'm sure would have been fine if it weren't for the way it was booked.
Yeah.
Although, no, you know what? That's hypothetical, right? So, yeah, it was bad. So we'll ignore the Booker thing for now and categorize it under this. It was a shit show. But, like, Shawn in a gimmick match, RVD in a gimmick match, Nash in some gimmick matches. Like, I think, having not watched a lot of this stuff recently, I don't necessarily like. I see what you're saying, but I feel like there's highlights here. It's not devoid of content. Although we have to recognize the context that during this time we were also tuning into Raw every week and seeing Triple H talk for 15 minutes to open the show, which adds to it.
Yeah,
in a negative
that
way.
for sure. Yeah. Another thing that I've heard pisses people off about this Triple H reign, is that he's like, what am I trying to say here? Even there's like two sides to Triple H during this reign. On TV, he's like kind of a little bitch. He's kind of always running and scared, and then you get to the pay-per-view, and this man's suddenly a god killer and like smite you with his big hammer.
It's kind of based.
I don't really care about that because it's funny as fuck to me. But I definitely see it. I know what people are talking about. It's true. He's like a cartoon villain on the TVs, and then on the pay-per-views, it's like, no, this guy's actually a badass the entire time.
Yeah.
You know that. You know deep down he's a badass, and it's like, do I? I don't think that's right.
Am I right in saying that by the end of this run, he's got the children?
Oh,
Just after
I think
the end of this run. Okay.
He definitely has them by the start of 03.
The start of 03?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's got them for this entire run.
Yes, Armageddon 02 isn't the All the Belts show, right? That's Armageddon 03.
What do you mean all the... Oh, no,
Or Evolution was all the
definitely
belts.
03, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Because... Yeah, I don't think they're there at the start of 03. I think it's after Mania at least.
Debut? Oh, not the start of 03. You're right. January 2003. So... For Evolution. So...
Is that when...
January 20th, 2003. So the night after the Rumble.
Is that both of them?
Good question. So, yes, both of them. Okay. On January 20, 2003, Randy Orton, who had been out of action due to a shoulder injury, returned and joined Triple H, Flair, and Batista in attacking Scott Steiner to complete the group.
Okay. All right.
I guess Batista had kind of just been following around for a little bit. Shortly thereafter, Batista moved from the SmackDown brand of Raw, and Flair also began accompanying him to the ring as manager and mentor while continuing to second Triple H. So I guess Flair was like doing a side thing with Dave and then hold it all together.
Should we talk about the Booker thing then? I mean, I don't even know how much there are to say that hasn't been said over the years. It was a terrible angle. It was really, really badly written. Triple H does nothing to make it any better. He delivers it with some heinous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. I don't know. Either don't write it that way, or just have Booker fucking win in the end. So at least it feels like the villain got fucked. Instead, he will win and he'll hold the belt for another like 5 months. So good times.
Yeah. Why why are we booking our main feud around Kevin Nash for 2 months? That's pretty awful. I mean, even the start of it. Go on.
Very WWE as well to do Triple H and Booker at Mania, where people generally want to see Booker win, only to do a rematch a month later with a special guest ref that ends in a no contest, and Booker never gets near the belt again.
Yep,
that's just it. That's very them to just like do a fuck finish and then whoop, he's lost in the shuffle. Sorry, he's gone.
He doesn't get back to the belt for 3 more years by which time he's doing a comedy character.
Yep. Which damn, I never even thought about that.
Yep.
But I think there might be something to say about not the like legitimacy, but I guess the
why it was that Vince felt like Triple H wasn't necessarily the villain. I think is where you're going on that, because it demonstrates that Triple H was representing the views of the writer in this feud.
Yeah. Yep, it does. And then also, and I also wonder, like, and especially in the writer's perspective, like, it's almost a justification to that, to not taking him seriously in that role. You know what I mean? To then give it to him later on as a comedy guy. Character. Yeah, as a joke. I don't know. Anyways, it's fucked up. Fucking fuck that guy.
The 3 stages of hell match is good, but again, you have to say why did you bring Shawn back, have him win the title at this huge moment just to take it immediately off of him?
Oh, if you want the actual truth, it's because they didn't really think they were going to do the Shawn thing.
Wait, go on.
They kind of just... So the story, I think, according to Bruce Pritchard, and I guess, take that how you will, is they played around with the idea that like maybe Shawn could win it there, and they were like, no, Triple H should just retain because we don't really know how much more Shawn is going to want to do. But it was in Madison Square Garden. This new gimmick match, all this stuff. Vince got thinking about it, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck it, we'll just do it." Like the week of, and they were all like, "Oh shit, yeah." And he was like, "Yeah, we'll just do it. We'll figure it out afterwards." So it was never like a big plan to put the belt on Shawn there. It was just kind of like this
I
would
think
be really cool.
even in that context, it's a massive mistake to just be like, well, let's just put it back on Triple H.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But I think that's probably because they had the Scott Steiner stuff in the works already, that he was going to work 3 matches against Triple H, including at Mania. So they were like, we got to throw the belt back on him so that can go as planned.
Also,
only
a bad
for it to
idea.
not go as planned.
I mean, you've got like anything. You could do Shawn Triple H at Mania. You could do Shawn Booker at Mania. You could do Shawn Jericho at Mania. You know, there's which you did, I think. So
yes,
you know,
19,
you could do so many other things rather than that. And I think that I wasn't convinced it was F when you sort of alluded to it, but I think having sat on it for the last couple of minutes and looking through it, I think that what characterizes this reign is that there are so many better things you could have been doing with this roster at this time, and the only like positive legacy of it is Evolution, which didn't need this probably.
Yeah, and I was gonna say it's part of I think why Evolution gets that perception as being like a really like doom and gloom fucking time, even though it was pretty based. Like, cause it's like it's a fucking depressing watch, man. That Kane stuff in 03 also, I believe, is or maybe that was the stuff in 02, the Katie Vick stuff. That's somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Somewhere in here is some other weird stuff. That I think it is 03 because the writing's really weird around this time with the Booker stuff and that stuff and I think I don't even remember the Triple H Nash feud. I'm literally assuming it's just Kevin Nash being like, "You were supposed to be my friend."
And to top it all off, arguably it got ended at a really terrible time. Like I don't have to talk about like in terms of the value of the match, but like this probably would have ended up looking better had he held it through to Mania. I know as crazy as that sounds, but I think it's probably true.
Sure.
Because what we end up getting in the interim is nothing of any value. And once again, they end up just saying, fuck it, let's put it back on Triple H.
Yep.
So
which is
I think I'm with
fascinating.
you. I think this is an F tier title reign.
Which is fascinating because who are your other heels? It's Jericho. Damn, you're
Kevin
just fucked,
Nash,
actually. Close the
Kane.
show. Damn, yeah, you're just fucked. Actually, close Raw. Just stop running Raw. Actually, like,
why do you need other heels? What's your context for that? What do you mean? What do you need the other heels?
Well, because I was like, if you were deciding that, like a certain babyface champion that you had made wasn't working out, so we're gonna take the belt off and move it back over to the other side for a bit, so we can figure out who our new champion is.
You mean
other than Triple H?
The next reign is you classifying that as babyface champion that's not working out? Because I would disagree. I think it was working great.
I don't directly. I just meant if in your head you had like I was more so talking about the Benoit one, honestly.
Okay.
Where you were like, okay, and like really you fucked it up. You fumbled yourself, and then you're like, well, I don't really know if this is working.
Well, that one at the very least, they don't just say, let's put it back on Triple H.
That's true. You're right. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right. Are we putting this in F so we can move on?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. We've equalized the tiers somewhat. All right. Next reign then is Goldberg, who wins it off of Triple H in a career versus title match where the title can change hands via DQ or count out. Classic 03 stipulation.
For real.
Then he beats Jericho with the special outside referee Eric Bischoff on Raw. Then Goldberg Goldberg goes to a no contest with Shawn Michaels on a Raw. At Survivor Series, he beats Triple H in a match that will define this title reign. And then he beats Triple H again by DQ on Raw before a triple threat match at Armageddon, also involving Kane, means the championship is back on Triple H. All right, this is one of the more interesting title reigns on this list. Where do you start with this?
We have Dave, or Dave. Who the fuck is Dave?
It's one of Batista. It's one of Triple H's underlings.
Yeah, we have Bill for a year guaranteed, starting in June. So we're here in September, where Goldberg finally beats Triple H and gets the World Heavyweight title.
First thing first, why does he not just win it in the chamber at SummerSlam? What benefit do we have pushing it back to Survivor Series? Unforgiven, even.
I do believe that was, I believe in like the Geist. It's a politicking thing from Triple H.
Okay. He wanted to finally win the Elimination Chamber after last year's debacle.
He wanted to win it finally. I think in the way that you've kind of alluded to me, how you kind of think the reality was in this time period, I think it might be kind of safe to say that maybe Vince kind of was having cold feet about just giving the belt over to this guy.
Surely the longer you wait for that, though, the worse it's going to get. Like, if you're going to do it, you're better off doing it as early as possible into the run. So then you have time to sort it out, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I think it's a mistake, because what happens, unfortunately, when you look through these matches is that although there's some really good concepts in here that sometimes get executed really, really well, he fights Triple H 4 times.
Yeah, this is one feud.
Yeah.
This is one feud, which is crazy. Yeah, and the Triple H Goldberg stuff, I mean, there are periods where it can really work. Survivor Series 03, particularly. Because Goldberg it's so fucking crazy that I did like a 360, I guess, in the long run with Goldberg, where I was like, this dude's base as hell, to, man, this dude's like fucking useless. God damn, I'd never do this. To, this dude's based as hell.
What's crazy about it is I want to talk briefly about, because I think we've alluded to it enough for me to just explain it. Survivor Series 2003, these two have a match where Goldberg gets his leg fucked in the match. I don't know whether it's a shoot or work. It doesn't matter to me. Either way, he gets his leg fucked. And then towards the end of the match, Triple H tries to do all the Triple H things, and all of Evolution come down and they try and fuck Goldberg, and they structure it like they're going to fuck Goldberg. And then Goldberg, on one leg, destroys the entirety of Evolution and then pins Triple H clean. And it's structured perfectly. It's a great match. It's a genuinely probably one of Triple H's best ever matches across his entire career. And it is the most over I've ever seen the WWE put a babyface. It is ridiculous, like how over they put Goldberg at Survivor Series. But it's great. It's obviously really good, and it's strange that the rest of this feels like it's not heading in that direction.
Yeah, because it's definitely by that point that they're starting to realize that Goldberg probably isn't gonna stick around after his year. So I don't know if they don't know that, or they do know that, or they think that, and so they're like, let's give him a really big just push over to just get him locked down again.
Yeah.
Like they would do with like Dolph Ziggler for all of the 2010s. So they'd be like, you got your world title match, buddy. Yeah. There you go. And he'd be like, I'm so happy here. And then it'd be like a year later, it'd be like, man, this company really just fucks around on me all the time. And they're like, hey, man, that's okay. Here's another title shot.
Here's money in the bank.
Yeah, don't worry about it, man. Like they did that for years for that guy, where it was every time his deal was about to come up, he'd suddenly pop off a little bit, get near the top, and then they'd get him locked out, and he would just be right back down. You go, you're fine.
It's a good spot for you, Dolph.
Yeah, you're doing great. We love you. So I wonder if that was this year where they were like, oh shit, Bill might leave. We really like having Bill around. We feel like we've invested in him because he beat Triple H. So let's put him super over, and then he'll have to stay because we did this super nice thing for him.
Do we know why he left?
Yeah. He hated everybody.
Fair.
He hated Triple H. He felt like Triple H hated him. He felt like Sean hated him. He felt like Vince hated him. He didn't really like anybody. Nobody really liked him. He didn't really know what the fuck they were doing this for. So yeah, no, I'm not resigning. Like,
Based.
yeah.
And then he went to New Japan and had base matches with various people who shouldn't be in wrestling at that time.
No, probably not. Probably not.
That didn't
Anyways,
happen,
Goldberg.
right? That's in our, because it's one of those things that my head is melded. He didn't actually go to New Japan, right?
Oh, I think he did.
Did he actually go?
I definitely think he did.
There's no way. I swear that is something that happened in our save and not in real life. That seems crazy to me that Goldberg would go to New Japan in that era. No.
He went to All Japan in 2002.
Yeah, before he came to the WWE.
Before.
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay, so he didn't actually go to New Japan after leaving. He just retired.
Yeah,
basically.
he actually just was done. Yeah. That's fucking wild. All Japan Goldberg. That's so based. Holy. I'm sure he kills somebody. I'm sure somebody gets like lifelong brain damage in that run. It's probably so based. Anyways,
there's a lot that's wrong with this, but I think that Survivor Series match alone makes this a B tier reign for me.
I think I'd agree. Average. It's really unfortunate that everything
could have been so much more.
Yeah, everything going on around it is so fucking weird.
Like, imagine like if he gets a reign to Mania and someone like Sean gets him at Mania, like that's pretty. It ends up being, I think, a pretty great run. But
I'm not gonna lie, that probably sells a fuck ton of pay-per-views. Goldberg versus Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Main event WrestleMania.
Yeah, like I think that's fucking huge. Like, world title after Goldberg has murdered Triple H.
With Guerrero, Kurt Angle is the other title match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be super based because it's like Sean's a guy who has all this spirit and all this, I don't know, resilience, I guess I want to say. And Goldberg's fucking gonna kill you. So, I don't know. Is Sean gonna die? Is Goldberg gonna
murder
get caught?
him?
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Is Goldberg gonna murder him? That's what I meant.
So, instead of doing that, we move on to our next reign, which is the third Triple H run with this belt.
Oh, man, he's back. That's okay. That's okay. They're gonna put a guy over him this time, and they'll stick with it. Don't worry about it.
So he wins the belt in that triple threat with Goldberg and Kane. Then on Raw, Triple H and Shawn Michaels have another match that's really long, in which they pin each other. And then they have a last man standing match at the Royal Rumble, where surely we must have a winner this time. And then they draw because neither of them answer a 10 count. And so clearly they're setting up for Michaels and Triple H to settle their differences once and for all at WrestleMania, except Chris Benoit wins the Royal Rumble and it's a triple threat match that he ends up winning. God, this is a weird reign.
It is a weird reign. It's mostly like one feud.
Yeah, it's the start, but it's not even the full feud. It's the start of a feud that never ends. Oh god, this is really
well. I guess
weird.
Since it's from the stuff we just looked at now too, so it's the continuation of a feud.
But it's kind of a new feud structure though. Clearly, this one's built on the fact that they're so evenly matched, and they must eventually find a winner inside Hell in a Cell, which is what happens later that year.
In the first time around, it was, can Sean come back? Can Sean be on Triple H's level? Now it's like, okay,
the answer was no. The answer was no. The last time.
The answer long run was no.
God, it's weird because I do like both of these matches, the Shawn Michaels matches, but because it's like a nothing, it's just absolutely nothing. It is the opening act of a feud that we do see the end of, but not really see the end of at Bad Blood. I think this is a bad reign. I'm sort of on the CF border. I know it's weird to say F for a feud that had two pretty good matches in it, but I just feel like this was a waste of time.
Yeah, it's definitely buying time, trying to figure out what the hell they're doing now. which is a lot of this Triple H period, where they're like, shit, that didn't work.
Put it on Triple H.
Let's try this. Yeah, let's try this in the meantime. We'll figure something else out. Shit, that didn't work. Damn. All right. Yeah, they just keep doing that basically. I'm probably at a C. Like it's fine. It's fine. But like, goddamn. Like,
my only argument for the F was that I don't think there's anything here that is fully redeemable. Like, there are good matches, but they're ultimately just a complete waste of time. And I think in the C tier Reigns, I'm like, okay, well, that was good in and of itself. The good matches in this feud end in draws. They're complete wastes of time.
Yeah,
so,
and I also think,
go
on. Shit. Immediately forgets what he's about to say. Damn it.
Well, that's my argument for F, is that I think the only things in this reign that could be redeeming ultimately end up as wastes of time. But I will leave it your call, C or F. I'm happy with either.
I would probably go C.
Okay.
The thing that I was going to say was that it's kind of interesting to see a feud that starts around a championship kind of move away from the championship, but only in a way that's kind of novel to me, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
It was never about the belt, idea. but it was though, and it should be.
Yeah, it was though. Yeah, definitely was.
Okay, our next reign conveniently has his head cut off in the picture. I don't know if that was intentional on your part, but it's
I didn't.
Tremendously
based.
Who
is this man?
Who is this man? We don't know. Whoever he was, he beat Triple H and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, then ends up beating Rhino on a Raw. Triple threat match with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, rematch at Backlash. Then beat Shawn Michaels on Raw in a long match, beat Kane at Bad Blood in a match that doesn't main event that show. Then one of my favorite stipulations in the industry. In a Benoit must win by submission, Kane may win by any means match, he defeats Kane on Raw. Then at Vengeance, he beats Triple H. On Raw, he goes to a no contest with Eugene. 60-minute Iron Man match with Triple H on Raw, before finally at SummerSlam losing the belt to Randy Orton. Where do you want to start?
What was... I guess it was just what they were doing. Like, because I was about to ask, like, what was the thinking between starting a feud between Triple H and Shawn and then building it to Mania just to do the Benoit Rumble win and then have him take the belt away from the really hot feud?
I think the idea, to be charitable, was we have two guys feuding we've feuded for years that we think are really good at wrestling. We have another guy who is sort of like a fan favorite underdog like type, who we also think is pretty good at wrestling. If we insert him into this main event scene, we can have a summer where these three are having matches in different constellations that are good, that, you know, the casual fans might like, because there's, you know, Shawn Michaels and Triple H have these magnetic characters, and a lot of the casual fans like Benoit because he's an underdog. And then also, like, we will put on the cinema of wrestling by having three great wrestlers wrestle all summer in really long matches. And sort of, have a babyface champion who people can get behind, while also having another really hot feud, and also extending the life of Triple H versus Shawn Michaels by putting someone in the way. And to their credit, to some degree that works. I think to some degree, this is the best the Raw title ever got from a wrestling perspective.
That's probably fair. Yeah, for sure. I think there's also something to say about... It's funny, because you just described that, and to me, it read like, they're buying time. Okay. Even though, I mean, they kind of are, but they kind of aren't, because, I mean, I guess all of wrestling is buying time, but anyways.
I don't think the Mania match was but I think the summer, like, trying to extend Shawn Michaels and Triple H out a little bit was I think you could describe that as buying time.
Yeah, the belt with Benoit and stuff like that until I guess they figured Orton was ready. I don't know if they set out with that idea, like, oh, we'll do it. We'll cap that off here. I don't know if they were that confident it would sync up, feeling like he was ready for that. But it's the WWE, actually, and they go ahead with things that are obviously bad ideas anyways. So, they might have just gone for it and said, like, we're plotting this out. We'll do it at SummerSlam. For a buying time move to, get Orton there, and then eventually it buys us enough time to get Dave there, which is even nicer.
Well, I think Dave was much more of an accident than Orton was.
Right.
Dave is a reaction to Orton
sense.
In a big way.
That makes sense. But I also think doing that any earlier with Dave, I think probably doesn't work quite as well.
Yes.
Because he very quickly goes from totally just being like a lackey enforcer to being something that resembles like a world champion caliber guy. So I don't know. I think buying time in that kind of sense, how long this thing goes.
I think you're being a little uncharitable to this period, because I don't necessarily. I get what you're saying, but it's like SummerSlam is always in August. There's no way to put, like, you're not pushing SummerSlam back to August, right? So like this was a period, like, I don't think this was like, oh, we need something to do in the summer because we aren't going to start this Orton thing until August. And even then, like you've mentioned, once the Orton thing happens, they're like, oh shit, this isn't working. Now we need to buy time. Like that. Yeah. That's the point where they start to buy time is 2 reigns from now. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
This
one,
that's fair. And I think a lot of people remember this because of the Kane match. And I understand, I 100% understand why. It was bad, and it wasn't the main event of the show. And that was a terrible message. The optics at Bad Blood 2004 are really, really bad for this reign. But if you take that out, this reign is really good. If you take that Kane program out of this reign, it is close to one of the best we've looked at across both of these lists. The triple threat at Mania, still arguably one of, if not the best triple threat of all time. The rematch at Backlash, almost as good. A completely different dynamic. The Backlash triple threat's actually really, really good as well. The Shawn Michaels match on Raw is good. Even the Vengeance match against Triple H is pretty good. The Iron Man match isn't, but it's a 60-minute Iron Man match with Triple H in it, so it's never going to be good. And then the SummerSlam match, I don't like it as much as most people. Oh, we're not including that. But to preface what we're going to talk about the next part, arguably one of the best SummerSlam main events of all time as well. But even taking that out, the 2 triple threats alone are both classics.
Yep. I think there's the classics in there. There's also a couple of those hidden TV bangers in the Shawn match. And, nope, just the Shawn match, actually. I thought that Rhino one might have gotten a little bit more time, but it definitely did not.
The Rhino match's probably good, to be fair. I just haven't.
It probably is. It's only like 4 minutes.
Probably to its benefit, if I'm being honest.
It probably is, because I don't think the WWE ever really knew what the fuck to do with Rhino, because it's like, yeah, there's this guy who pile drives people off the side of the ring through a table to the outside, and they were like, okay, we'll do that, but we won't do that. Like, shit.
On this reign as well, I really want to mention Editor Tucker put a picture of 2004 Chris Benoit on the screen, because this is a absolutely massive moment for this company in terms of what a world champion can look like, because this man is just completely different to any of the other people who have held this belt up to this point. He is, like, you watch him squaring up with Shawn, and even Shawn in this feud, and he is noticeably smaller. He is noticeably smaller than those 2 other guys. He's like not conventionally attractive. He's got a bunch of like chipped teeth and shit. Like this is a hobo wrestling, and the fact that we've actually like in the main event of WrestleMania, this man is winning it, and it obviously happens around the same time as Eddie wins the belt. So there is this sort of upswelling of like, there was a 2003 Triple H left certain impression on the fan base, and there was this impression of, well, things can only get better, and things did get better, and there is like a period of momentum that WWE managed to create here in early 04, and a lot of it is down to the fact that, holy shit, they're actually going to put this small man who's really good at the wrestling over in the main event of WrestleMania. And in a lot of ways, I think it influences what comes many years down the pipeline. I think this is a very important title reign.
So I'm thinking here, do you think the Benoit and Eddie stuff was maybe specifically a response to what happened with the 03 Triple H title reign stuff? And that general feeling that those guys could not actually win that. They would never be allowed to get in that position.
I don't actually think so. I think it was more accidental than that. I think the reaction probably had a part to do with that. But I think it was more of like, oh shit, well, Goldberg's leaving. So it was like, we put Goldberg over huge to re-sign him maybe at November. By December, it's clear he's not re-signing. Shit, what are we going to do? Put it on Triple H. Okay, well, what are we going to do at WrestleMania? Well, we could do Shawn. And then there's just something must have happened to make them change their mind. Because I think
something like freaked out in Vince's brain, and he was like, "I like small people."
Chris Benoit and Guerrero win the Rumble.
Both of you now go.
I think it probably ends up being the Guerrero and Benoit thing ends up being independent, because I think at the Rumble he would have made his decision about Benoit, and I don't think Eddie was on the mind at that point, because it was still Crash Holly, right, or Hardcore Holly versus Bob Holly. One of the Hollies.
It was Bob. It was Bob. Yeah. Bob and Hardcore are the same guy.
Gotcha. Cool. He was fighting Brock Lesnar, and I think it's still a couple of weeks before this Eddie thing kind of crossed. I think Eddie was still feuding Chavo at the time, right? So I think there's there's a few weeks before the Eddie. I think the Eddie thing is very natural. I think the Benoit thing's pretty natural, but it's less natural because it has to be this Rumble machine, and once you get fed into the Rumble machine, there's sort of like a pathway. I think the reaction probably had a lot to do with the Triple H thing. I do think, I honestly, there's a part of me wants to say the Benoit decision was probably made the night of. I think maybe it doesn't feel like
putting the belt on him?
Winning the Rumble. I think once he wins the Rumble, I think the decision's been made. But night of the Rumble.
Who do you think, because I'm literally just blanking here, who do you think might have been like a winner otherwise?
It's a good question. It's a very good question. Obviously my thinking is that it might be, I feel like they were going towards Triple H Shawn at Mania, so maybe it would have been a SmackDown winner, someone to face Brock, and then maybe they don't do that because they know Brock is leaving at that point. Maybe they're like, oh, we don't want to put Brock in this position because we don't know what's going to happen, so we'll add someone to the Triple H Shawn feud.
And they had kind of already sold you a little bit on the Goldberg Lesnar match, because they have an angle at SummerSlam 03 where they go face to face with the belts, and it's like, ooh, the big boys are gonna fight someday.
Was Goldberg hurt at the Rumble?
Hurt at the Rumble? I don't know,
because it might have been that Goldberg was gonna win the Rumble to fight Brock. That might have been a thing.
That would add up, and then they pulled the belt from it, and they were like, shit, this needs a little bit more. Fuck, they're both leaving. Give me Steve Austin there in a ref costume. Yeah, hold on here. I was looking for Gold. Does he get hurt anywhere around here? Or maybe they just... might even be the case that he doesn't get hurt. They just, like, fucking sour on him, and they're just like, fine, dude. Like, fuck you.
Yes, that could be the case. I need to run to the bathroom real quick. You're good to edit this out, right? If we take a quick break.
Oh yeah, right, for sure.
Cool. Then I will be right back.
Nice, I can hit this a couple times without putting it on video. Not like I care, but it's a YouTube video. People can see that forever. You know what I mean? I'm okay with drinking on video, but hitting the thing, it's a little different. I think Putty was right to some degree, as I'm reading it here. It sounds very much like Goldberg winning might have been the plan, and then they maybe switched it to where Goldberg did really well and then got eliminated by Lesnar, so they could still do that title match. And then like a month later, when they figure out Brock's also leaving, they probably just dropped the belt from him. Which I'll explain in full here in a minute.
All right, I'm back.
All right, perfect. So,
go ahead.
And okay, so yeah, it looks like in 2004, the Rumble, Goldberg was in there, and he's like eliminating a bunch of people. Brock comes out at 30 and eliminates him. So we have
Wait, who comes out at 30 and eliminates him?
Brock does.
In the 04 Rumble? Sorry.
Yep.
But Brock's the champ.
Yeah, that's what I've got here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Okay, here we go.
03 Rumble, maybe?
No, I just had... It's worded a little fucky, at least on my end here. Okay. The feud escalated at the 2004 Rumble on January 25th when Goldberg was amidst of dominating the Royal Rumble match. He eliminated Haas, Gunn, and Nunzio as the 30th entrant until Lesnar interfered in the match and executed an F5 on Goldberg. Goldberg was then eliminated by Kurt Angle after that attack and vowed revenge after defeating Mark Henry and Jonathan Coachman on a handicap match.
Angle might have been a Rumble winner. That also he was pushed pretty heavily at the time, and he ends up getting his Mania match.
Right, yeah, and that ends up with, of course, Stone Cold giving Goldberg a ticket to go to No Way Out.
Yes, that was a based angle. I think I tried to copy that for something.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a real thing.
It's a really cool angle too. It's like he says like don't do anything I wouldn't do or something to him.
That's awesome.
It's great, yeah.
Anyways, but my point here was being, I think there was definitely a point in time where Goldberg versus Lesnar for the WWE title at Mania was the plan, and then they were like, oh shit, Brock's really also gonna leave, so we'll just take it off him here at No Way Out. And
I think in a reasonable but ultimately fatal move, they were like, oh, let's make sure neither of them poison the well by putting them with each other. And I think, in all honesty, if they had been with someone else, because I think both of them actually, with the benefit of 20 years of hindsight, would have been professional enough to do a job, like not to lose, but to like put on a show, because they were both together and they were both chill guys who were like, we don't really give a shit. That kind of led into a well of antipathy.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, no, like the whole program's vibe just became nobody cares about this. Who gives a shit?
Back to the Benoit reign then. Despite its flaws, for me, this is an easy A-tier reign. I think if it was a little tighter, if you did take the Kane stuff out, it would be even higher than that. But I think even despite that Kane stuff and the bad optics in the middle of it, I don't consider this a buying time reign. I think that there are classics in it. It's an incredibly important reign for the company. I think it's easy A-tier for me.
Yeah, it's really good. It might even be better in like the context of everything that's going on around that time, like all the different shit that's going down. It's a real bright spot in a series of really long, dark stretches. Yeah, it's pretty damn good.
All right. You agree with A?
Yeah, I'll go with A.
Next reign then, Randy Orton beats Chris Benoit at SummerSlam in Toronto, then defends it against Benoit in London, not London, Canada, on Raw.
Yeah, that's the next night.
And then a month later loses to Triple H and Unforgiven.
Yeah, wow, I forgot IRL that they pulled the plug that quickly. I kept thinking about our stuff where it was more so December or so.
It was January, I think, yeah.
Whatever it was, but we obviously gave Orton a lot more time to try to figure this shit out.
They did not.
Yeah. I guess they just immediately were like, "Whoa, shit! What are we doing here?"
This one, I don't know. This one feels really easy for me to rank. So let me walk you through my thought process with it. Right, even though I'm not a super huge fan of the SummerSlam match, it is widely considered pretty great, and I even recognize that for what it was. I think you should give a full explanation later about this match, because I think I'd like to hear it, and I think it'd be good for the video. But even I recognize that just for what it was, putting Orton over, really important, and it does a really good job of that. The aftermath, the interaction and the chemistry between Orton and Benoit is really good. I don't remember the London match. The London match. If you've seen it, maybe we can talk about that later. But what I do remember is that even though this reign had its plug pulled, the thumbs up, thumbs down moment that happens in this reign is super iconic and really good content and really good wrestling. So what I'll say is I think content-wise it's really tight, it's really clean. There's some really good moments in its admittedly short run. But it definitely got pulled way too early. Huge, even though the reaction wasn't quite what they were looking for, they gave him like a month. They gave him less than a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
with the belt.
How badly do you have to fuck up for them to just instantly go, whoa, goddamn,
yeah.
like absolutely not.
It's clear. I think it's clear from what happened afterwards that they weren't quite sure that they were going to go down the route they were next year. Even though I think that there were probably seeds of it starting. So I don't understand why it happened. I think it really cut the legs under Orton. I think he was handled really poorly, and I really don't like that. And so that's why for me this is an easy B, because I think there's so much good here, but it's also a disaster from a macro perspective. But you can either respond to that or just talk about the SummerSlam match, because I would also like to hear your take.
Yeah, so the SummerSlam match I really dig, because I don't know, to me it's just really simple. Like, it's like Benoit's a super gritty guy. Yeah, like a homeless man who happens to be the world champion. He's just a fucked up guy. He's a crazy aggressive, wrestles. He can do like both the technical stuff and be super gritty.
And fly.
Which I think and fly. Yeah. Unfortunately. But yeah, I think that just clicks really well for me with like the kind of pretty boy Randy Orton character, the young gun who's bred for this. He's like third generation. He's pretty much the antithesis of the Benoit character, even further than Triple H is. Like, Orton is very much Benoit's total opposite. But I think they come to an understanding in that match. I mean, the rematch the next night makes it hard, and I'm a little confused by that one, doing that quickly. But I guess the whole reign is done really quickly. So, just because, I don't know, Benoit afterwards telling him, be a man, like, that's the all-time shit for me. That's the stuff. That's the whole that's this whole period up until Mania with Cena, Orton, and Batista all kind of stepping up into what they need to be. Orton obviously takes a little bit longer to work his way there, and even when he eventually does almost try to figure it out, they cut the legs out from him again. But I don't know, it works really well for me. I think there's the one big moment that stands out in terms of wrestling is that crazy suicide dive that Benoit does.
The outside, yeah.
I think it's Benoit, yeah, where he just like crumples himself and it's nuts.
He hits the barricade really nasty, right?
Yeah. I
That's
don't know. I just
the finish.
I just got too. I just get the real vibe that like Orton establishes himself here. He had beaten Mick Foley earlier on in the year. He's
really
He'd kind of been prepping to fight the crazed homeless man archetype this whole time, and it paid off for him. Yeah, I don't know. I just like
backlash match against Foley. By the way, I know you mentioned it aside, but I always feel the need to point out how great that match is. That match is fantastic.
Mick Foley like clockwork. It was like, I'll make you Triple H, I'll make you Randy Orton a couple years later, I'll make you Edge a couple years after that. Don't worry about it. You put him in a hardcore with me, and suddenly the perception changes a little bit.
I feel like I don't give Mick Foley enough credit when you put it like that. I did enjoy
it is
a lot of those
ridiculous
matches.
How many people he's making people in this time period, and he's not even really around. Like, he just shows up and has like bangers where they're wars, and it looks like the guy who wins it and figures out a way to beat him is
It's gone through
super crazy, or
hell.
super talented. Yeah, like he's able to go through that and come out the other side victorious. It's like it's a level up thing, which I think Benoit also becomes for a little while there to both Orton and Cena.
Well, just Orton. I think the Cena thing was our fabrication.
Really? Oh, it's probably Angle in that role, IRL, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking it was
Angle
Benoit
does a
for
good
both
job
of them.
there, IRL. I remember
He does.
I remember expressing regret that it was a casualty of our save, but I'm obviously the fact that you remember the Cena Benoit thing as being real means that at least we made a good decision in doing that.
Yeah, because to me that's just who Benoit is in
this
this
They do
period.
have a feud, I think, for the US belt, but it's not a huge thing.
Yeah. To me, Benoit in this period is like he's been around for so long, he's finally made it to the top, and I don't know, he's kind of like looking.
He looks bitter,
down
but
from
he's
the
not
peak.
really bitter. That's just what he looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think the way that the be a man thing followed by the handshake that they have after SummerSlam 04 is like,
it's huge.
I don't know, it's just big. It's huge for both of their characters, I think. Which is why then I immediately said the rematch feels weird to then immediately have Benoit come out the next night and be like, you're gonna have to do it again. But maybe that's worked better than I think it could be. Who knows?
I think were it not for the circumstances, a lot of that feud would have been replayed a lot over Orton's career.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Especially if it had gone maybe a little bit longer or something.
I don't. I think it's just down to the fact they can't show any of the footage anymore.
No, I think it should have just gone longer, buddy. That's the only reason they don't talk about it.
But if it had gone long enough, then maybe things would have changed.
Yeah, if it had gone long enough, I feel like very few people could avoid talking about it.
Where would you put this on the tier list then? And I gave my take, but all yours. I'll follow you.
I think I'd have to go C.
Okay.
It like there's I would even in my head have an argument for F because it fundamentally fails at what it's trying to do, but it also doesn't really even try to do what it's trying to do. It like presents itself and then instantly dies. It's like
I'll argue hard against the potential for F, but if you want to leave it in C, that's fine. I do think it's better than that, but I understand because I agree that there's a lot of macro that this was really bad and it cut the legs off, but the essence of this reign is the title win, and you have just explained why it is as good as it is. And despite everything they do afterwards, I don't actually think it completely destroys what they did at SummerSlam. Like it definitely hurts Randy and hurts the storytelling for the next few months, but that SummerSlam thing does just hit. It hits at SummerSlam, it hits for like the next night. Randy doesn't necessarily get over the way they were hoping he would, but like just that the night of SummerSlam is a self-contained story that just, it's not like the draws of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. It's not like the Kevin Nash Hell in a Cell where in a vacuum it's really bad. Like the SummerSlam match is a part of this reign and is arguably like top tier content.
I'm gonna have to cut you off here for a sec. Sorry.
Sure. Tucker is so brutally appalled by my take there on this title reign that he's having to leave. He's answering the door to WWE legal department right now, saying that they're being fine with these tier lists so far, but the second we start talking about, Chris Benoit, we're not allowed to rank stuff anymore. So we're gonna have to take all of the Benoit related content out of the video. So that's really unfortunate, but hey, it is what we have to do. Was that the WWE legal department telling us we're not allowed to talk about Benoit anymore?
We can't say his name anymore.
Shit.
We can't say his name.
Okay.
Anyways, you were saying something. Apologies.
I was just basically saying that this reign, a huge portion of it is that story, and I don't necessarily think just because the follow-up is bad that undermines how good that story was.
Yeah, Yeah, that's entirely fair. I think yeah, I just don't really know why they give up this quickly on it. Especially if you think, well, not if you think, because it's pretty obvious, but especially considering this was probably the plan for a while, or at least the idea
I think
would be
so.
to make Orton as a star, a babyface star, and then he can feud with
Maybe the
Triple H and
idea
stuff
was
for a
that
bit.
Triple H winning the belt back gives Orton this chase to Mania. Maybe that's the idea.
Yeah, that might be it, and he can figure it out without the belt on him, so we can. I don't know. What does the champion do in theory? Sell tickets? Is that what they do in theory?
Talk for 15 minutes at the start of Raw.
Yeah. Okay. Triple H might be a better candidate for that than Randy Orton. I'm not gonna lie. Somehow, low bar to clear.
Okay, you're sticking with C. I can't pull you up to
I go
B.
C on this guy.
Even though without the additional context, this is definitely like an A to S tier reign. It brings it all the way down to C for you. That's fine. I just
Hate.
well, lads. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't see it as anything but a big fuck up, and I'm being real generous to it, honestly.
Well, that phrasing, I can't see it as anything other, just feels off to me because you have spent so long talking about how one aspect of it is like great.
It should have been great.
Well, it was. It could have been more great things, but the bit, like, it's not like they started telling a story they didn't finish. That, I guess I want to explain, because I think this is a part of it for me, is it's not like they set something up and then fucked it up, right? That Benoit part it finished. It was over. It's not like we were waiting for chapter 2, right? That was it. That was the end. So yeah, I just feel like it's isolated.
Fine. As a one note kind of story, I guess. No, not a one note, but like a one night, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I mean, actually, I am happy to leave it in C, but I want to just bring another piece of evidence to the table. We do have that Shawn Michaels reign in A, and I do feel like it's a similar argument.
Oh shit, you're right, aren't you?
I'm happy to draw, like I said, for mine, I think it was B because this one was way more egregious than cutting Shawn Michaels' legs off. But
yeah,
and also I personally think the Elimination Chamber is a better moment than SummerSlam. But
yep, I think I'd agree with that.
So can I drag you kicking and screaming up to B?
We will go to B then.
Let's go.
We will.
All right. Oh, who's that? Wait a minute.
Who's back? He's back. Wait a second. It's him.
Oh no! Why is he there twice? Let's find out. So Triple H 4 beats Randy Orton at Unforgiven, then beats Shawn Michaels at Taboo Tuesday, then beats Maven on Raw, and then triple threat match on Raw. Chris Benoit, Edge, and Triple H. And is it a double pinfall or is it a pinfall plus a submission?
Pin.
Yeah, okay, I remember this.
It's a double pin. So they vacate the belt after this.
Interesting. So they put it back on Triple H, and then they realize, that's, maybe we don't want to do that. So they vacate the belt, leaving it open for a new candidate who we'll talk about next to claim it after it gets vacated.
For sure we will, man. They clearly do put the belt back on Triple H. They run Taboo Tuesday, which is Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and then they're like, "Oh, fuck, damn it, we're here again. Damn, okay, let's figure something out." He could do a Maven thing really quick. That'll be like a TV, but that's good. And then, how can we have him lose it without having him actually lose it? Okay, triple threat. 2 guys fall on him, so he's technically losing twice, but he also never loses. So, and then our belt's off him at least. So he's never really lost the belt, even though he has twice. But he's never lost the belt, and then we can put it on somebody else here for a little bit, and we'll figure it out. But shit, Mania's coming up close. I'm a little panicked. We got to figure this out fast. That's all. I think this is a fucking F. Fuck
yeah,
this.
I mean, I mostly agree. But before we get to that, let's remind people, and I think I'm right on this, that the Shawn Michaels match was a vote for an opponent.
Oh, likely, yes.
Yeah, I think it was that, I still, what? how worked
Do you
are
think-
those votes?
I was gonna say, because I would imagine there are certain times where, okay, I imagine most of the time they are worked, but I imagine those votes are collected by something, and they do look at them, and they're like, But there is that one time where maybe that was in TNA. I don't remember.
They went through a period in the early 2010s where they were doing votes on Raw, and I remember they weren't worked because they were bullshit.
They would get fucked up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, no, but the reason why I knew they weren't worked is because eventually they decided we're not going to work them, but we're going to make it so that you basically have no choice. It was basically like, will John Cena fight in a 1-on-2 handicap match, or a 1-on-3 handicap match, or a 1-on-4 handicap match?
Will John Cena fight Randy Orton in a no DQ match,
no
a Falls Count Anywhere match, or an Extreme Rules match?
But yeah, no, I mean, this Shaw match is a nothing burger. It's bad. The Maven match, I don't remember at all. And the Orton match is bad and has all of the negative connotations we talked about last time. I'm happy for this to go into F.
I believe this Maven match is probably the one where Maven is the GM of Raw.
Oh, because they won at Survivor Series and they all get a turn at being the GM. And Triple H offers Maven to join Evolution. Join Evolution.
This. Yeah, he offers him to join Evolution, and Maven says, "No, I'll take a title match against you," and then he loses because he's dumb.
Because he's bad.
But yeah, because he's bad. Because he's bad at sports.
F tier.
Yep, easy.
All right.
It's nothing.
It's looking awfully Triple H down there.
It's looking awfully Triple H, and he may just find a way to do it again. Oh my God, so Triple H
is also the next reign because he wins the Elimination Chamber, which is set up to...
We've had a month to think about it, everybody. What do you got? Who's our champion going into Mania? Triple H, I guess, sir. Fuck.
That he beats Orton at the Rumble. He beats Edge in Japan. There's a Raw from Japan.
Oh, yeah. That was a based one.
And he loses to Batista at WrestleMania, which we'll get into a lot more later. So
I don't know much about this one chamber.
I do, and I have a feeling we're going to disagree a little bit on this.
This is the one actually where Dave like beats almost everybody, and then Orton gets
trying
Dave
to convince
out.
Dave.
Triple H could break it up and save Batista, but he's clearly aware that if there's a guy he'd go to the final two with, come on.
We also get all of Shawn Michaels, like, I'm so conflicted. I don't know what to do. And I
don't want to count. I hate this guy.
There's something like really, I can't remember exactly what the angle is, but there's a really based angle on Raw where he announces that he's the GM, and it's so dramatic. And I will say this, for all the bullshit that's here, putting a vacant title inside an Elimination Chamber is base as fuck. And this was base as fuck. Yep. And it's like, look at the roster in that chamber. This was like a really good chamber match.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else that happens is whatever, it's nothing. But this is probably the best Triple H run we've looked at so far, because like I admit that there's not a lot here, but that chamber is pretty good. Like fair play to him. Like
Triple H's bar, it's like the chamber's pretty good. The other two, I don't really know much about at all. Damn, this might be the highest Triple H one.
But the thing is, I want to stress that the chamber is more than just like the match was good. Like the content was good, the angles were good, the whole idea was good. Like I know why there's a little bit of eye rolling on this one, but I actually do think this is a B tier raid just on the base of that chamber. I think it's good enough. Like it's honestly arguably Triple H at his best. Like it's just tremendous bullshit in which he comes out on top. He smites people with his hammer. Like
he does.
And there's genuinely, for the first time in this entire era, I think we have a cast of characters who are genuinely interesting and have character. Like Triple H has a history with Randy Orton, and they're both okay at acting. Triple H has this developing thing with Batista and Ric Flair, and they're okay at selling it. Jericho is Chris Jericho, he's Chris Jericho. Chris Benoit has this history with everyone involved in this match. Shawn Michaels is Shawn Michaels. And then you've got Edge, who is a bit weird in this period, to be completely honest with you. But, is starting to develop into that character that we see him kind of unleash. in
he
January.
is going into a feud with Shawn Michaels after this.
Yes.
He spears Shawn during this match, and Shawn is like, "Fuck you, man." Or maybe he super kicks Edge at one point. Somebody hits somebody, and from there it's
and obviously
beef.
Edge does a big thing at Mania. Yeah, I think it's low B. We'll get to the ranking at the end, but I do think this just about crawls its way into B. I think it's good. The Chamber's good enough, but this is one where I'm not going to spend the time arguing if you're lower on it. I think I'm fine with just letting you take it down. If you want.
I might be about B as well, because I remember this Chamber. I've seen it somewhat recently, like within the past 5 years. And I just remember thinking that it was really cool. Excuse me.
It's oddly not as good as the next one, which if you look at the lineups, will surprise you. But the next one is better.
This one, if I remember correctly, I remember really liking the way that all the different participants had like weaving narratives through them and stuff like that. Like, even the kind of odd guys out in there, like Benoit and Jericho had teamed together, and so had Jericho and Edge, and so had Edge and Benoit. So, like, all these different guys have different kind of interactions with each other, in that match. And I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know. It felt like it felt alive, I guess I'd say. Like people were reacting on the fly very naturally to whoever else they were in there with. And even like adding Shawn in that as well. You have like 7 guys who all kind of connect up in different ways. And from this match, actually, all kind of split out into different ways. With Triple H and Batista eventually going to go do their thing, but more immediately Triple H and Orton going off, and then Edge taking Shawn, and I don't know what the hell happens to Jericho and Benoit, but why are they really here anyways?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I would probably say low B. Does that feel right?
Can he escape from his bottom end? I think he just about makes it for me.
I'll maybe give it to him.
Okay, we can shift later if we change our minds. Also, I've just realized he's the only one in CNF from this video so far.
That's great, man. That's about right.
Okay, the next one, probably one of the most successful changes on this list. Batista defeats Triple H at WrestleMania, then beats him again at Backlash. Then he beats Edge on a Raw. He loses to Muhammad Hassan by DQ on another Raw. And then he beats Kurt Angle on the draft show. And then the big Hell in a Cell beats Triple H at Vengeance, beats Christian on a SmackDown, because at this point the belt switched brands. JBL beats Batista by DQ at the Great American Bash, leading to their blow-off match at SummerSlam, No Holds Barred, where Batista finally beats JBL. Beats him again, apparently wasn't the blow-off match at SummerSlam, in a bull rope match. Then he beats Eddie Guerrero at No Mercy, Eddie Guerrero's last pay-per-view match, I believe.
Yep.
And then he goes to a no contest with Randy Orton on a SmackDown before being forced to vacate the title due to injury.
Yeah, I think this was a pretty good one.
It is, yeah, but I also think like there are periods of lull here.
Clearly,
yeah, but I agree. I mean, let's start with the Mania title change. I think you've contended this was the last time WWE ever made any stars. Is that a correct take I'm remembering?
Real. That's all. That's the last time they ever did it. No, I would have probably meant in the WrestleMania capacity, kind of stamping a passing of time. I think 21 is clearly like a moment in time where the main characters switch from being Triple H, Shawn, Angle, those type of guys, and we switch on to being more focused on Batista, Cena, kind of Orton and Edge, even to like a lesser degree. Yeah, like I think it's a big switch at that show, where kind of the new guard takes over.
The match is pretty good. The Hell in a Cell at Vengeance is very, very good. Surprisingly so. The Vengeance Hell in a Cell is great. You look at the 27-minute mark and you think is that a bit long for a Batista match? And then you look at Triple H and like, oh my God, why is Triple H going so short in Hell in a Cell? It's actually a very neat and tidy Triple H. It's bloody, it's gory, it's brutal. It's like, I feel like one of the unfortunate criticisms you could level at Triple H is that he rarely finishes his feuds. I feel like most of the feuds end up petering out and you don't get these big like final moments. Like there's always some sort of carryover and spillover. But this Hell in a Cell at Vengeance is just the end of these two's feud up until obviously the return for the retirement match like a decade later. But like other than that, it just like is just the blow off. And it's weird because like you could say, well, the reason why he finally had a blow off is because he finally let someone win.
I was gonna say, yeah. He finally stopped fucking politicking for a minute. God damn.
And it's great. The Hell in a Cell's great. The JBL stuff is actually okay. I don't love it. I have to recognize that they do good stuff. It's just like JBL is such a visceral villain. And Batista's such a stoic babyface that I just it never worked for me. I was like, Batista like laughing and joking with JBL, who's supposed to be this despicable human being. It's just like, I prefer the babyfaces who like voiced the audience voice and were like, you're a bad guy. Whereas Batista was like, haha, I put you in the ground because I'm a big man and I can beat you. And it just never worked for me, but the matches were actually pretty good. The Eddie match is good. Obviously, circumstances surrounding that. From both Eddie's passing and Dave's injury meant that we never really got what that I think was supposed to be in terms of the full program.
Yep.
But there are even, I've gone over there. There are like, especially early summer, there are periods of like lull, and he's not a guy who's going to open up a show with a 10-minute monologue. So we don't always get this like active the face of the company champion. And I think that does slow him down. Also, he is having this really long reign at the same time that Cena has this really long reign, and there's this feeling of stagnation, and he also never gets to lose the belt, which means, there's no closure to the reign. My instinct is that it's high B.
Yeah, I would agree.
Important moment, though. I think we should, recognize that, like you said, passing of era, passing of time.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so they have a battle royal. Takes them a while,
they do.
Actually.
It is, isn't it? It's like
a while.
Definitely like a couple months. I'm wondering if maybe.
Yeah. I think they were waiting for like the prognosis on how long Dave was going to be out for.
Oh, I see. Should we strip him or not? Yeah,
I think he vacates. Yeah, so I think it takes a little bit.
I see.
And then when it's clear he's not going to be back for WrestleMania, that's when he vacates.
That adds up. That adds up.
Do a battle royal, which I always misremember this period of time, and I always for some reason think that Mark Henry was the world champion, but that's not true. So Kurt Angle wins this battle royal and then defends the belt against Mark Henry at the Royal Rumble. Yep. And then defends against The Undertaker, both on pay-per-view, No Way Out, and then a rematch on SmackDown where he loses by DQ. And then at WrestleMania, he fights Royal Rumble winner Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton, who's also there, for the belt. I want to get ready and say this Undertaker match is a classic. No Way Out. It's really good.
Oh yeah. It's awesome.
Fantastic. I think
it's probably like the first showing of what this period of Taker was going to do. Maybe I'm a little wrong on that, but I feel like this is the first time where it was like, oh shit, Undertaker can have bangers?
I think you're right. I think some people might point to the Orton matches, but I think you're probably right. I think I'd agree with you on that.
Yeah, this is like a flash of what's about to happen.
The SmackDown match is also great. Like, it's just a great pair of matches. The Mark Henry match is very meh, is very nothing. I seem to remember Taker coming out after that, but and again, my head just goes completely crazy on this period. But what I will say is that the Taker match is great.
Yeah.
If you had, so obviously this is one of those where it feels very artificial in a way. Like, it's very clear that, like you say, they're buying time. They're like, we need a guy
Yep.
to hold the belt. Let's
While
throw
we
it
figure
on
out what the
Kurt
fuck
Angle.
is going on right now. Yeah.
And he's a great choice.
Oh, he's a fantastic choice.
He's really entertaining on the TVs. And yeah, Taker match is pretty great.
He's also starting a little bit of the full character switch, because I mean the character's already switched definitely from comedy goof to Kurt Angle, kind of as he is. But even in this period, they're doing a switch from kind of like canonical Kurt Angle to ultra intense professional wrestling machine suplex. Like they're turning him into that guy at this point in 06. So yeah, the work is really based. Yeah, it's a weird it's a weird reign in a weird spot at a weird time. Give me a
Go on.
give me a give me
I think it's on the BC
B.
border for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say C, but the Taker match is good.
The Taker match is good, but I just don't think it alone takes it quite to B for me. Just because,
and it's not a very memorable reign.
It's not, and I also like I give him credit for the Taker match, but hot take, petty take incoming. Prepare yourselves. Angle's already washed at this point. And so outside of that, the wrestling is not fantastic. Obviously, we don't necessarily criticize him for the Mania match, but still, even the non-title matches and all the rest of it, it's not amazing. So
yeah, I agree.
I think this is like a really high C tier for me.
Yeah, I would have to agree. When I factor in, like, I forget this reign happened. Most people forget this reign happened. The only reason that I know that this happened... Fair. I think I know... The only reason that I know that this reign happened is because I know there are pictures of Kurt with big gold.
The only reason why I know it happened, so I've come to the Undertaker match fairly late in life, in that I must have watched it when it first, around when it first happened, or just after it, because it was later this year that I started watching. But I don't remember liking it until like a recent watch and being like, oh shit, this match is great. So what I remember from this is obviously the Mania match, which I do remember, which I guess we will talk about now, because our next world champion is Rey Mysterio. Royal Rumble winner, wins the title at WrestleMania in that triple threat previously mentioned, then beats Randy Orton on SmackDown, goes to a no contest with Kurt Angle on SmackDown, beats JBL at Judgment Day in a very, very good match, and then another match against JBL on SmackDown, no contest against Sabu at One Night Stand, defeats Mark Henry by DQ on a SmackDown, and then loses to King Booker at the Great American Bash. There's a lot of matches in this reign.
There is. That's very much typical of how the WWE does a babyface champion. They work a lot. That's their idea of good guy with belt. He has to be the working man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot of these matches to comment on them. Like, I don't know the singles Orton one. I don't know the single Kurt one. I don't know the two JBL ones at all. I know the Mark Henry one, because I think Mark kills him damn near. And they play that out for sympathy, because that's all that they do with Rey during this time. And then obviously I remember the Sabu Rey Mysterio match for that fucking insane springboard DDT through a table onto the floor. Which is the most fucked up thing that I think the WWE has done, maybe ever. Most insane spot I've ever seen from them. You've seen it, surely.
Sorry,
surely you've seen it.
I was thinking through something else in it. Which spot are you talking about?
The Rey Sabu one, where Rey's standing on the table hinged between the ring and the barrier, and Sabu does a springboard off and catches him into a DDT, and the table slips out, so they both basically just DDT each other on concrete. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, that's the good shit.
Yeah.
That's the good shit. They instantly stop that thing because they're like, "Oh my god, Rey just died! Holy fuck!" You just call that thing out. They're like, "Oh my fucking god!" Like, Rey died. We killed Rey Mysterio. Oh my god! And then he works the next SmackDown, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to make a controversial pitch here. So to do this, I need to take us back to RVD from last video, where basically the reason why he's there is because it was a massively missed opportunity, really, which had no redeeming qualities about it. Now, I have originally, when this happened, I, among many other people, were like, he's gotten done dirty here. He had this really bad throwaway run where he was shit on most weeks on TV.
Yep.
And there's barely any redeemable qualities in here. Like, I just run through it really quickly. The JBL matches are good. The Kurt match is a throwaway for the most part. The Orton match is good. And then obviously that's basically it. However, over the years, I've come to sympathize and say, I don't know how effectively Rey Mysterio as a top babyface champion is going to be able to be booked, even in his best form. And having done it now a few years ago with you, I found it really difficult to book Rey Mysterio as a top babyface champion. However, where the credit can happen, where the good is in Rey Mysterio in a main event, where you cannot fuck up, is him winning the belt, because that's the easy part. That's the big moment. That's the moment that, whatever, we'll deal with the consequences on Thursday. But the easy moment is this babyface who is great at wrestling that we all love has finally reached the mountaintop. And Rey's title win was shit. The triple threat was bad. I didn't care about either of the other people in there. There was no, even despite the fact that WWE went to some heinous levels to start beef between Orton and Rey, they still didn't care about these two's rivalry. There was absolutely no chemistry between the three of them. It would have been better as a singles match between any of the three. And it was just awful. The moment was meh. It was slapped in the middle of a relatively average WrestleMania. And the one part of this reign, I think there are redeeming qualities here, but the one part of this reign that that over time I've realized you can't fuck up is the title win. And it's arguably the worst part of the reign. So I think this is actually an F tier reign again, because I just think there's I sympathize. It's hard to book Rey Mysterio as a babyface champion, but they even fucked up the easy part. And I just think this is a bad reign.
That triple threat, I think, I was going to say in the era, but now I'm thinking of the whole time they had the two belts. That might be the most forgettable world title match at WrestleMania they ever did.
There are a couple, the Triple H.
Sheamus Del Rio is close.
Triple H, Randy Orton, John Cena at 24 is very, nobody cares. That's
at least the three really big names. This is just
it makes it arguably worse that nobody remembers that happened to Everyone's always like, wait, which one was the WWE title match at 24? Edge, Big Show, Cena at 25 as well.
Dude, they totally give up on John. They're just here you go, some guys, overcome the odds. Great Superman figure.
There's one, is it Batista Cena at 26?
Yes.
I think that one, I barely remember that one. What's the other match that year for the world title?
Edge, Jericho.
I agree. I brought up a bunch of dissenting points, but I do agree with you. But I still, I went through my mind. I was like, there's a lot of bullshit there. But I kind of agree with you. Yeah, I remember this more because I like Rey Mysterio a lot, and I remember this as the triple threat in which Rey Mysterio won the world title. And it wasn't that bad, but it was nowhere near what I think it should have been.
There have been multiple occasions when thinking about things for the series or just discussing them where I've said to you or other people just what is the world title match at 22? It fails to register in my brain. I'm sure a good part of that is the fact that I fucking hate multi-mans. It's not that I hate multi-mans. I can't take them serious.
They're bad.
They're fun. They're fun sometimes.
They're harder.
But yes, they're fun. But I think I don't know. I think it's a different kind of thing than a singles match. Obviously, there's different stories being told in that. And I always just think they're always a little weaker for establishing the singles champion.
what's adding to it is, to your point, is that it was blatantly and obviously just thrown together. It was, well, who are we going to put the belt on?
Who we got?
Kurt. We're going to push Ray because his friend just died. And we got the sympathy for it.
I don't think Ray should beat Kurt, though. I don't know. Just a vibe I'm getting.
And then
we get an extra guy in there.
Yeah, like who else have we got? Or actually, I think that's exactly right. They don't want to beat Kurt. We need a heel. It's like that's him. And who's the worst heel we know?
Yeah. Who's the biggest son of a bitch we know?
Are you with me on my controversial throw Ray and F tier?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that entirely. Like, I mean, there's one good match in here. And,
yeah, it's the JBL Judgment Day match. Is that what you're going for? Because that is actually a really good match.
No, I was thinking match? Ray Sabu. Yeah, okay. Ray Sabu is just so base.
This is going to be controversial. I can almost consider that non-canon.
No, it's fair. Yeah. I would maybe agree, honestly, but it is a world title defense. So,
true.
Like, they do put it on the line. That could have just been a match that they did, and it could literally be an exhibition.
This Judgment Day match sounds like you haven't seen it or haven't seen it recently. I would go watch it. It is good. It is a good match between two guys you enjoy their work. Right? Yeah, yeah.
It's JBL bullying small people. Like, it's what he does.
Yep. I think it's this one. One of these two. I'm pretty sure they get quite. It turns into quite a bloody match. I don't remember which one it is.
Very much him and Eddie, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or him and Davey, or him and Cena. That's the other one I'm thinking of. All right. Next, Reign. Then we've got King Booker. Defeating Rey Mysterio at the Great American Bash, then beats him again on SmackDown. Loses to Taker by DQ at the Izod Center on another SmackDown. Loses to Batista by DQ at SummerSlam. Then beats Batista on a SmackDown. Fatal 4-way against Batista, Lashley, and Finlay at No Mercy. Loses to Batista again by DQ on a SmackDown. Then they have the Champion of Champions triple threat at Cyber Sunday, my first ever wrestling show that I ever saw, versus John Cena, the WWE Champion, and the Big Show, who is the ECW Champion.
That he is. Good Lord.
Bobby Lashley on a SmackDown, and then finally loses it to Batista at Survivor Series. Okay, we alluded to this reign earlier. The King of the Ring this year was a very thrown together quick affair. I think he was only on SmackDown, if I remember correctly. It's just,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Booker wins it, and then he transforms.
Booker T becomes a completely different human.
Yeah.
Something that he would take with him even once this run is over into TNA, where you've seen that? He shows up to TNA and he's talking in like an African accent. And he's like talking about being the king of the jungle.
I don't remember that, but tigers. I remember when he came back to WWE as
absurd.
As a broadcast staff, he was still, for a brief period, King Booker.
Oh, was he? Wow, that's nuts. Wow, good for him. Keep the gimmick alive, I guess.
I guess I want to state right out that I think Booker T is a very talented performer who,
fantastic,
by 2006 is fairly limited in the ring.
Yep, whitewash. He's over 40 by then, so.
But is still better than your average WWE talent at that time, to be fair.
Yes, in like all aspects. Like, he's a decent talker, can work well enough. He's got a charismatic
great look. I mean, amazing look.
Looks good.
He looks like $1 million.
Fun moves.
Really over, no matter wherever he goes and whatever he does.
Good iconic theme.
Which one?
That theme hits anywhere. What's the like crazy one that we stumbled upon that one time where he's like,
Dead White Guys? That's the name of the King Booker one.
Yeah, that's the Dead White Guys is a banger. Dead White Guys, such a fucking track name.
It doesn't even really map onto the audio that well.
It doesn't even make any sense.
Well, I think the idea is it's sort of like the sound of Dead White Guys, like the regal and the pompous, you know.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading into it.
I swear Dead White Guys was what they called like rap sheet after a while. Hold on. Let me just Google Dead White Guys.
maybe don't go into the image search.
Oh yeah, no, okay, that was the King Booker theme. Yeah, it's called Dead White Guys. Yeah, I would imagine that is the bit that like all these He's coming out with the music of a bunch of old dead white men.
Goated.
Very, very funny. Very funny.
The Rey Mysterio match is actually pretty good. I know we've talked about how we were sad, but the match is actually pretty good. Now, I think I'm just going to drag out 2 archetypes from the rest of this reign rather than talking about each match individually, because I think there are essentially 2 stories going on, and that is Booker as the archetypical, like, I think you like to run and talk about this weaselly heel thing a lot, and I think nobody's ever done it like Booker has. This was just the
Booker's
weaselly
great.
heel. This was it. Like, this man was legitimately not very good at wrestling in the kayfabe, and was just somehow getting away with it, forming this coalition of goons and lackeys. This culminates in 2 ways. The one is the Taker stuff, which, there it is. I think it's a bit longer than this sort of implies, because I think there's only really 1 match in here. Yeah, but they do have a little bit of a back and forth, and that's really cool because Taker's a great foil for Booker. And then the second half is just it's this autumn of like Booker surviving against a mounting force of challengers, including people from within his own faction. Right, the Fatal 4-Way at No Way Out, really, really good for if you like that archetype of Weasley heel, like. That match, if you like the archetype of Weasley heels finds a way, is like up there with the barbed wire steel cage of Bradshaw's run, right? It's just like at the end of it, you're like, you can't keep getting away with this. And you've got, that's one archetype, and then you've got the Dave chase. And that I think it depends on how you read it and your tolerance, and also remembering that we're going back now able to skip things, whereas you weren't able to skip things back in 2006. It did go on a while. There are 2 matches in here in which Dave wins by DQ over like a long period, and
ridiculous. It
felt a little rough. But at the end of it, when Dave eventually overcomes and conquers, it is a great moment, and Booker is hugely responsible for that. Man, though, it's a lot like the Bradshaw one from the last video, where the concept is good and it leads to some good content. But man, if you were in the middle of it, you kind of fucking hated tuning into to Friday Night SmackDown.
Yeah, be one of those.
It's also by far the furthest the belt has fallen from being a serious title.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it felt like a B show at that point.
Yep. Yes, it definitely did. And I mean that'll break for a little while here, but then we're gonna dive right back into it full force. So
I think we might disagree on a few of those rates, but I see what you mean.
Yeah. Booker T. I don't even know what the hell I'd say for this. Maybe like a low C.
I was about to say, I think you could make an argument for B, but I think, because I do think there are a lot of good moments in here, and it's a reasonable arc, but I don't think the moments are good enough or frequent enough to rise it from C. So if that's your instinct,
there is some fun to be had here, but it's a lot easier to look at 4 months on paper here than it is to experience those 4 months. And a lot like the JBL stuff, to be fair. There's fun there, but when it's like 11 months, it's not all fun. Far from it.
And I would argue, and I think you'd agree, that the JBL stuff had more and higher quality highs. Exactly.
And the JBL character was also had like enough nuance to it, where the King Booker thing is entirely a cartoon. That's why it can really only go 4 months, and even by the end of 4 months, you're like, what the fuck, man?
Was this only 4 months? Yeah.
Yeah, like literally.
I do want to once again special shout out to that Fatal 4-Way though, because I think it, and the fact that Lashley and Finlay, their whole arc around that period, it was all really good. It was the best of this genre for me.
Very cool.
All right, Dave's back. He's
there.
Booker at Survivor Series. Then he beats Finlay and Booker on SmackDown. Then he beats Mr. Kennedy at the Royal Rumble. There's a big gap there. In December, he teams with Cena to take on Booker and Finlay, I want to say.
Booker and Finlay.
Then beats Kennedy again, and then fights Taker at Mania. Okay, so this is obviously sort of a transitionary reign. He's a little hurt in December, which is why he takes a bit of a backstage.
Yep.
I think this lives or dies on the Survivor Series match. I don't know if you have a different take here. Maybe the build to Mania we can factor in here as well.
And I've seen the Survivor Series match. It's pretty good for what it is.
I really like it. I think it's this version of the Batista character. It's his best moment.
This is the one where like Booker just tries everything he can to fuck over Batista, right? And Batista finds a way. Am I not wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. Like it's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Charmel gets involved, and there's a ton of just things going on at one point in the match. You're like, whoa, what's going on?
And then Batista kind of just shrugs at the end, and then because Booker tries to hit him. Well, he tries to hit him with the belt, and Batista's like, "Well, fuck it. If you're gonna throw all this shit at me, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a good guy. I'm gonna hit you with the belt." So he just smacks him with the belt and then fucking pins him. And
JBL goes into like supernova mode on comms, talking about how Booker's illustrious great reign didn't deserve to end at the hands of a crook, and this is all bullshit. Yep.
But it's this all congruent where Batista is back. He's dealt with the injury. He's won the title he never lost, and he is at the sort of his peak. And it sets him up for what we're going to talk about soon, which is this 07 period, which is so good. And a lot of it comes from this Batista version, which is top of his game. Gone, not just won it at the big dance like he did in 2005, but actually had to overcome a large amount of adversity to get back there. And so I like
even more so, like Triple H was willing to stand and fight him. So it's like a total inversion of that, where Booker is a total coward. Yeah, like he is. The difficulty for Batista isn't going through the physical contest with this guy. It's getting his damn hands on him and making sure he can't get away. Like, shit.
I'd probably go B on this.
I'd probably go I could probably go a low B. Yeah. Just because the stuff after that is pretty meh, but
depending on whether or not you count,
it's a good moment. It's like
Mania build.
The whole thing feels like a little bit of a kind of status quo moment. Does that make any sense? Like, it feels very much like the arc of Dave returning to get the belt is done. We're here in his reign. We can just kind of sit here for a bit.
I kind of disagree, because again, I would counter it towards the end of that reign. You've got the story of, well, Dave has this new opponent. Although we don't go all the way to the match, I think we can include the build and I mean the pictures of the Mania press conference, right? So I think there is a period of quiet where Dave is not doing anything. He's dealing with Booker. He's dealing with Kennedy. People, not exciting villains by any means. But then afterwards, we're into this next arc of like, well, now we have this massive rivalry.
Yeah, and obviously if we can include like a little bit in there, then that rubs off onto this. Because I was just looking at the matches as they are. It's basically Batista finishes that arc, and then he's kind of just hanging out here for a bit, squashing local ne'er-do-wells and stuff like that.
We're talking just matches. We can definitely include Batista and Taker versus Shawn and Cena from No Way Out, which is great, is fantastic. It's top quality. Okay. Next champion.
Probably a low B on this. Yeah.
I'm with you on the B. Yeah, just to sort of back it up. Taker then beats Batista at WrestleMania, wins the title first time in I think it is 10 years, right? His first reign was 13. With the WWE title.
No, 1993 was Taker's first WWE title reign.
What was it? Was that his last reign? Or he had another one, didn't he? He had the ministry.
And whenever Highway to Hell with Brett, I think, right? 97. Yes. So that would be 10 years.
Wait, he won the belt off of Sid, right? At 13?
I think you're right.
But I think he has a run with the belt with the ministry, which I think is later than that.
Yes. So yes, he does. So his last reign would have been May to June 99.
Okay.
And that would be probably right before he gets hurt.
First reign with this belt.
No, it's not. Because then he goes and does the tag team stuff with Big Show, but he is hurt for a while after that. Anyways, sorry.
Oh, it's all good. Important clarification. Wins the title off of Batista.
Yep.
They have their rematch at Backlash. Last man standing. It's a draw. Then they have their rematch inside a steel cage. It's a draw. And then he gets cashed in on and loses the title. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty well done.
Bias on the table. I fucking loved this at the time. I think it's aged really, really well. I think you will struggle to find a tighter, better, more contained title reign than this. The story that they were trying to tell, the level that this rivalry got to, the consistency of character, the simplicity of it, and how well it landed. It's as close to perfect as I think we've seen across both videos. I think this is an S tier title reign.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Do I wish I had pushback, but I don't.
Any pushback at all, or are we just putting this into S?
No, this thing is so good that, I mean, you'd think it's a lot longer. I think, at least I do.
But it is longer. It does go on afterwards, but yeah,
I know it does.
Yeah,
but it takes a little while to get back around to that, though.
Yeah.
About a whole year. But yeah,
6 months.
I think.
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah, they fight each other in November. Hell in a Cell.
I meant Taker with the
Edge.
belt.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a whole
Taker
year,
as champion.
That's a whole year.
Like yeah. Like I was saying that I think that this title reign goes a lot longer than it actually does.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think, I mean, everything kind of about it is very iconic. It's the closest to like classical stuff that WWE gets in 07. I feel like nothing else touches this. Unless I'm forgetting something really obvious.
There are other things later that I like, but I will agree that this is, like, in terms of top to bottom consistent quality. It's just like they set out with an idea, and they just nailed it every match. And it's two guys as well at the time that you would just not like. Because Taker, like you said, was starting to become this like really well regarded worker, but wasn't fully there yet. And Batista, I mean, God, there are only a couple of Batista feuds that really, but I think Batista's criminally underrated as a whole. But even I will admit that there are limitations to his game, and the fact that these two managed to put out what they did is absolutely miraculous.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. Like I don't know if it's I don't know who's to credit for that necessarily, but I mean, yeah, just cheers all around, really. Like, fantastic stuff.
Is there any argument to the idea that some of these matches are a little overrated? Because they're quite simple.
I don't think so. Here, the craziest thing about, it's maybe not necessarily even for me, these matches, but I can respect what they are, and I think it is, in this time period, a really great example of the WWE style and how it could still survive. And then only in a few years, really, if you look at the timeline, the kind of way that these things are built, the matches, the feuds, doesn't really exist anymore. I
think it still takes probably another good 6 years from this point to get there. But
I would agree.
agree with you.
I would agree. But I think this is like one of the last kind of renaissance pieces for the WWE. Like I think it's in line with its pantheon of historic.
It's leading to the Shawn Taker matches, right? Which are the finale really of that style. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, really like the story of the company, and I think it falls in line with everything that's been happening over the past like 15 years, really, that this whole thing started.
I think one thing to mention on this, that is sort of in comparison to the other reigns, is that they don't waste their time on a defense against Mr. Kennedy or MVP.
No, yeah.
Right? They're just this is the fight feud. And, I think they were scared at times of people. Like, this is a large part of, I think, why the Benoit thing happened, is they were scared that if we do Triple H Shawn for like an extended period and then cap it off, that people will get bored and things like that. But actually, they realized that if you really interrogate these two characters that are over as fuck and really interesting, that you can sit there for 2 months with the same guys. And yeah, it was also like closer to a sports presentation than we've seen in this era, where it's not necessarily about like this undead wizard and this animal. It's about like two guys who are really good and who are fighting for a championship.
Yep. No, it's literally like Dave has entered his peak now. Like, I mean, he was good enough to win a world title before, but now he is without a doubt established. And The Undertaker is coming back into form, a guy who's been here for like 15 plus years. It feels like two super heavyweights, like throwing bombs at each other the whole time, I feel like. And even while that's a little bit slower, I think it works on everything that it's trying to do. And I don't know, like this 07 stuff with Dave, as much as it is in general, a little bit of a snooze fest. It's stuff I enjoy still. Like, I watch that willingly, every time. Mostly because I know they were smart enough with Dave all the time to cut a lot of the bullshit and just do a quick, short, acceptable affair. Where somebody like Triple H obviously gets to do super fucking long for no reason, and it harms him every single time to do it. But I think with Batista, their formula was always just so good, and obviously these ones are a lot longer than anything that I would think of as the Batista formula. And they land because it feels like Dave has met somebody who can match his power. And yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, they're matches for each other. It's what they do.
I think before we move on from this one, I want to mention, because I said it at the start, but I also want to add a different caveat of bias for both of us, in that we did this in the series.
Yep.
And there's no doubt that we have taken an interpretation of what happened in real life and done it in the series. And I'm sure that some of the things we made more explicit weren't there in their real life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm really happy with how this went in the series. I'm sure you share that sentiment. And so that definitely impacts how we view how the real life one went, because it's so subtle, because it's so much about context and stuff like that. I think it's a lot easier to read our own interpretations into this than it is like something like, I don't know, John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, for example, which is a feud that's very hard to read your own perspective from.
It's very hard to read anything into that shit, man. Let's be honest.
Oh, I meant the 2013 version or 2014 version. Yeah.
Which, you couldn't really read into that because they were hitting you over the fucking skull with it. They were,
But yeah, the same could be.
Do you understand? He's losing the fans. They're turning on him. He smacks you with a baseball bat over the back of the head. It's because the cult guy has control over people. He smacks you again. And John Cena has said the same thing for such a long time. People are bored of that. It's like, okay, Jesus Christ, can we relax?
All right, next champion, Edge. Catches on The Undertaker, then defeats Batista, then defeats Batista in a steel cage, and then defeats Batista by countdown in Batista's last chance match, and then unfortunately has to vacate the championship due to injury.
Edge gets hurt here, does he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Cursed, by the way. Cursed 07. Taker get injured.
Cursed belt.
Yeah, Taker got injured, and that's why this happened in the first place. And then Edge gets injured as well. Now, first things first,
cursed.
This entire reign is one feud, just like the last one. And just like the last one, it's really good.
Okay, I don't know much about this one at all.
Okay.
So
yeah, well, I know this feud quite well. I'll go through it. Maybe there's some stuff you might vaguely recall. The cash-in is obvious. I mean, everyone's seen the cash-in. It's really well handled. It's the last of the great sort of storied cash-ins. I think the later ones are good for their moments. But this is the last one where it's like, oh, this is a new, unique way. We haven't necessarily seen this before. It's a little different because I think, am I right in saying Edge is on Raw at the start of? I think he is, right? So he jumps brands to do this. I'm
07? I want to say so, yes.
Yeah.
I want to say this is where he jumped ship.
So yeah, he jumped ship doing it, although the brand split's very condensed at this point.
Funky
They're doing
already.
yeah, they're doing joint pay-per-views.
After December 06, it's all joint pay-per-views all the time because ECW ruined the brand split.
I think technically they still brand No Way Out as a SmackDown pay-per-view, but the main event has Raw guys in it. But I think No Way Out is still mostly a SmackDown pay-per-view because I seem to remember.
I do believe it like fully goes into effect after Mania, and
yeah, Backlash.
Until then, they're kind of just let's move this guy over here and fit this guy into here, so we can kind of make these more attractive to people to buy. I don't know if it was like always going to be untenable to try to sell monthly pay-per-views, or I guess bi-monthly pay-per-views on half of your roster's stars. It's like, because I mean, obviously that feels like a bad deal, but it had been working the whole time up until they totally shit the bed with the ECW one by not announcing anything, booking it poorly, etc.
It hadn't been. The SmackDown pay-per-views were really poor in terms of sales.
Okay.
Yeah, they were.
Good to know.
Yeah, especially 06 especially, but like 05 as well. And even the Raw ones I don't think were doing particularly well. It hadn't really been working, depending on your definitions.
So the ECW thing was more so a clear death knell.
I think December to December was a uniquely terrible financial disaster. However, like I think like stuff like No Mercy from previous years and things like that were still like I seem to remember No Mercy in particular being a really hard sell for people.
No Mercy 04?
Just all of the like 06, 05. I think that just because of where it was on the calendar.
October,
it was always
right?
Yeah, it was always a
September.
October, yeah, and there was always like a Raw show the same month, or something. So it was like, I just seem to remember
Tuesday, I think most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
really tough.
Survivor Series is going to be next month. SummerSlam just happened a little while ago. God damn, how many of these do I got to pay for, man?
It's a really condensed schedule, yeah for sure. Back to this reign though. The Edge Batista match at Judgment Day is the weaker of the three, but it's still good. It's a short, sweet affair. The cage match is fantastic. It's Edge being a weasel. I think if I remember correctly, this is the one where Edge is like escaping, Batista's going through the door, and I think Edge slams the door in his face and then drops or something. It's very like what I love about this feud is that it's Edge being clever. Like he's a weasel, but he's just smarter than Batista. Like he's not doing things that he's like, oh, he's got lucky or he's like getting away with it. He's just like outsmarting Batista, and I think that was a really good direction to take. The content on TV, sometimes it got weird, but most of the time it just landed. It was really good. It was Batista very confident, like, of course I'm gonna beat you, I'm Batista and you're Edge, and Edge being completely unhinged. And then when it got to the matches, it was like, well, Batista's too calm and too confident, and Edge is completely unhinged, so he's gonna do whatever it takes to win. And it was really well landed. Again, there's not a lot here. It gets vacated due to injury, which is unfortunate. But for what it is, and also the last chance countout match is great because it's completely well built. Like this is his last chance, and Edge wins by countout, and it's this massive sad moment, and it's really well executed. This is probably my favorite period of the Edge stuff because Batista's a great foil. They have good chemistry, and it lands really well. Again, it's tight. There's not much distraction because there isn't enough time for there to be a distraction. I think this is an A-tier reign for me.
I think I'd probably agree. Very tight. Feels like it has a purpose to it. And also Edge and Batista feel like two characters who would naturally have a lot of shit in between them. The Edge is interesting because he rides a line. I mean, oftentimes he doesn't ride the line, and it's kind of just in theory he rides the line. But in theory, the character rides this line between being an absolute fucking lunatic and something of an actual strategic genius. Yeah, I like the half chuckle there. Because like fair, they hardly ever do that stuff, but they'll tell you that all the time that he's a real smart guy. He's real smart with it. And I don't know. I always think that is the coolest part of Edge, and it makes sense to me that Batista being so calm all the time would draw that out of him, that kind of more insane side. Yeah, it's unfortunate that this is obviously just a little short thing here, and we don't really know where this was going to go from here. I imagine there's a chance we end up at kind of the same spot, anyways.
Yeah, I
If
don't know where
Edge
they
just
could have
doesn't get
gone
hurt here at all.
after
But
this. I don't. Yeah, I really don't. Unless
yeah,
maybe Triple H, because he was
Ray.
coming. He was coming back. Yeah, Ray's definitely a possibility.
I don't know who else is even an argument there. It's probably just Ray. Like,
I think there is like I think Triple H ended up coming back on Raw, but he could have possibly been SmackDown bound at that point because he goes there the next year.
I was gonna say he is SmackDown very shortly, right?
Yeah.
So
I think he might even come back on SmackDown. He fights against Booker T. That's the guy he returns against at SummerSlam. So I don't really. What does he even do? Oh yeah, no, he wins. He does win the world title at Unforgiven, but I don't think that wasn't planned because Cena wasn't hurt yet. So I think Triple H gets slotted into Raw when Raw has its injury issues because WWE
right,
2007
he gets moved back
is
over.
cursed and everybody is getting hurt. Like literally,
Cena gets hurt.
Triple
so
H gets hurt,
okay.
Edge gets hurt, Batista gets hurt, Taker gets hurt, and Cena gets hurt, all in the same year. It's ridiculous. And yet somehow it's still like not a terrible year, all things considered.
No, to me it's like one of the last years of like. I mean, obviously one of the last full year of the ruthless aggression thing, but also like. I don't know. I think like in general, they're navigating through this year is really well done. Like with all the injuries, I think it makes them look smart.
I'm gonna put Edge here in A because I think you're in general agreement, and also because that is a very good segue because they were navigating the injuries quite well up until. So our next champion is the Great Khali, who wins a battle royal on SmackDown to become the new champion, holds the belt above his head, upside down, which is such a great metaphor for what is about to happen to this show.
Yeah, iconic shot. So I think very clearly Dave's okay. He can still work. So we need something for Dave to conquer. We've had somebody who's his equal. We've had somebody who was a weasel twice now for him. One of them cartoony, one of them crazy, I guess. So let's have Dave fight a mountain.
And they had been pushing Khali, to be fair, before this.
Oh, yeah.
They had been running this thing where he was feuding with people and he was crushing various types of fruit to show how powerful his new vice grip finisher was.
Crush Rey Mysterio's head. No, you son of a bitch.
So the rest of this reign was Khali versus Batista and Kane, and then Khali versus Batista at SummerSlam, which he loses by DQ, and then finally loses in the triple threat, which we won't count for this reign, versus Rey and Batista. Look, I am a huge Khali apologist, and we will talk about the benefits of this reign in the next reign, but as this reign for what it was, I was about to say it's really bad, easy F tier, but it really wasn't that offensive. It lasted a month. Khali's not
2 months, but yeah.
Yeah, Khali's not that bad.
No, he's not that bad. Genuinely, he's not that bad. I mean, okay, listen, super limited, fucking limited. But the few things that he can do them to his credit. It is possible. I think obviously it's harder. This is kind of one of the things that I brought up with the Triple H thing. Especially in this one where there's actually no crutches most of the time. Your crutches, at least in one of the matches, it's Ray, but in another is fucking Kane. Here we go. World title triple threat, and Kane is my worker. It's like, oh god, you've lost your fucking mind, man. Get away from me.
True.
But yeah, I don't know. I think there are wrestlers who are totally able of making greatness happen. They sometimes just need somebody to hold up their end of the bargain, or maybe hold up just a little bit more. And for Batista, I'd say that's certainly the case. Great Khali is never going to hold up much of anything aside from being there and being pretty big and intimidating, I guess.
To be fair, I think when we start, I'm going to mostly relegate the Batista stuff to the next reign, because there is stuff here, but I don't think it was very good, so I sort of agree with you. but I do think there is a moment where Batista and Khali get together and have something that's actually good. It's just never here. The thing that I sort of credit Khali for is in a vacuum, like just his content that he has on television. It's not as like it's not as bad as, for example, Vladimir Kozlov a few years later. Right, that man is just
double E
absolute poison for charisma on air.
for real though.
Or like Big Daddy V, I think was
Lord
around this era as well.
Yeah, he was. I'm surprised he never fought Khali. Honestly,
I think he might have.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah,
I'm sure they did on ECW. I'm not gonna lie.
But yeah, Khali wasn't good. He's certainly like he is CF border for sure. I'm just wondering how
here's
void of content this period actually really was.
So the most interesting thing there is you had mentioned talking about Dave later, and I realized like, oh yeah, shit, no, I am talking about Dave a lot here, and I'm like, well, it's because Khali could functionally be any tall individual. This is about Dave overcoming a mountain. This is not about Khali having the belt, or specifically Khali being champion, anything like that. He just happens to be a big guy. You could do this with, I don't fucking know, probably Kane, really, if he wanted to.
Yep.
Like, he wouldn't be as obviously bigger, because Kane isn't that huge. He's like a real tall guy, but not like that big. But you could do this with a lot of different guys. Khali is just the most obviously convincing of all of them, because he's a fucking massive man. But he could be anybody. And probably like 9 out of 10 times, him being anybody else is probably a little bit better than whatever this was. And I really don't hate Khali that badly. I think he's quite okay. I've seen him wrestle matches that I've been pleasantly surprised by. But I just think for it being Khali's reign, it's not doing anything for him. He's not doing anything for the belt. This is biding time.
This is panic. This is bottom of the barrel.
This is panic. Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. It is a total panic. We need to try to get, I don't even know, just a couple months of TV here so we can just try to assess what the hell is going on. I would give it an F. I don't think it's...
I think you've convinced me, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're Khali... right. I think it is what it represents, and that is bottom of the barrel. We are out of options.
Yeah, it's like, cool, plan A didn't work, we got plan B. Plan B fell apart, gotcha, we got plan C, and then plan C failed, and they were like, oh, shit.
There's that big guy. I think, I always, so another thing, we were talking about the Angle run earlier, and I said I sometimes confuse it with Mark Henry. Another thing I sometimes confuse is that Battle Royal with this Battle Royal.
Yeah, fair. It's interesting they do it twice.
I might be wrong on this, but I think I can check before I say something stupid. Was Khali in that first one? No. Okay, never mind then. I was going to say I thought they had the idea to put it on Khali then, but I guess they didn't because he wasn't even around at that point.
No, yeah.
Either way, I agree. It's I think we've given it credit that most people wouldn't, but we've ended up where most people are, which is...
He is an afterthought in his own championship reign. How crazy is that? Very few guys.
Retrospectively, I agree, but unlike some people, at the time he wasn't. At the time, he was the central part of the content. Whereas like for Ray or for Benoit, at times, like they were afterthoughts at the time.
Right, yeah. Yes, that's
But I agree, retrospectively, if you look back, I agree with you that he's sort of an afterthought.
Yeah, he clearly is getting the least out of this of anybody involved in there. But he's also probably putting the least in, so...
Another great thing to do, and I think I will do it quickly because I think it underlines your point about how bottom of the barrel we are. Let me just list off the names that were in this Battle Royal. Great Khali, Batista, Brett Major, Brian Major, Chavo Guerrero, Chris Masters, Dave Taylor, Deuce, Domino, Eugene, Finley, Funaki, Jamie Noble, Jimmy Wang Yang, Kane, Kenny Dykstra, Mark Henry, Matt Hardy, MVP, and Shannon Moore. Who else was going to win that belt?
I was going to say, it's like your choices are Khali, Dave,
MVP,
Kane, Henry, MVP. what the fuck are you gonna do there? Honestly,
Henry
I
would
might
have been
also go with
better.
Kali.
Maybe
Henry
yeah.
would be better. Henry would be better for sure, but also, I don't know. They're always weird about
Henry
Mark
probably
this time
ties in
period. They
better
never
with
really.
how they, because Henry, like, obviously Taker comes back to fight him at Unforgiven, and they probably would have tied in a little bit better, but I don't know. I don't know if they knew at this point when Taker would be back. Probably
They
not.
probably didn't. No,
Yeah.
I would imagine not.
Okay. Next reign then. Batista beats Rey Mysterio and Great Khali to win the title. Then he retains his championship inside the Punjabi prison.
The Punjabi prison. Dear God.
Beats The Undertaker at Cyber Sunday with the special guest referee Steve Austin. Then beats The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell at Survivor Series with an assist from the cameraman. And then on SmackDown, no contest between Batista and Edge as Taker gets involved, which leads to the triple threat at Armageddon, in which Edge finally becomes the champion again. So finally, everyone's back from injury.
Yeah, kind of a. I'm gonna say it's kind of a nice little bow here on the end of the year to get back into the Batista Taker stuff, only to have Edge crash the party for a second time, and then you get thrown in this whole thing, only for him to steal the belt out again. It almost makes me think maybe our idea the whole way back in May might have been for Edge to win it, for him and Batista to do some longer stuff, then for maybe Edge to feud with Ray or something like that to get back to what's going to happen here shortly.
Yeah, I think you're right. This was definitely where they were trying to. I think this was probably where they were trying to get to, at least since the first audible. Like once they get Edge involved, which I think was an audible. I think they were looking to get back to this. Want to go all the way back to when Batista won the belt and just comment on that a second, because that's a really interesting triple threat. It's actually pretty good, and the finish and the story is really nice. So Batista, Ray's like doing stuff, like doing a sequence on Khali, and then Batista gets involved. Batista bombs Ray onto Khali, and then there's a moment where they like fan out after the sequence, and like they're like three sides of the ring, but Batista's like readying up and the other two are like groggy and stuff, and he literally pushes Rey Mysterio out of the way and then points at Khali and lifts him up for a big spine buster and pins him. I really like that match, and there's that moment of like, this has been about slaying the monster. I'm not going to pin my best friend, the little man, for the belt. I'm going to pin the big guy for the belt. And there's a nice moment afterwards where Ray's like kind of celebrating.
Thanks,
Batista.
man. Thanks for not killing me, man. That's really cool of you.
The Punjabi prison wildly overachieves. It's really not as bad as you're thinking it is.
That's the one where Dave's like throwing himself from like cage to cage, right? He like jumps from the one to
bamboo
the other.
Cage.
Yeah. He jumps from the one to the other. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's crazy. It's Khali at the whole time is climbing over. But it's funny because like with anybody else, this is why I think Khali is uniquely suited to this. With anybody else, it would look unbelievable that he's taking so long to get out of the cage. But because he's this massive lumbering giant, it actually sort of makes sense while you're watching it. I don't remember this Cyber Sunday match very well. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't either. Yeah, I feel like it wasn't that heavily promoted. But the Hell in a Cell's really good. It's a little unfortunate it ends up in a fuck finish, because it does take away a little from the match, even if I like the fuck finish. Also, I think it's worth noting that it's really dumb that Edge was on the poster of this show, even though he wasn't at the time on the on the programming. Like it's wild that they did that, but I kind of respect it. And then everything in that like December period is, I think, really well worked. Essentially, what Vicky does is Vicky says, Edge, you interfered in the match at Survivor Series. Unacceptable. I'm going to punish you by putting you in a match with Batista for the world title. And then Undertaker interrupts that match, and Teddy Long, who I don't really know how he ended up with this authority, but by this point Teddy Long had the power to make matches, and said, Undertaker, I can't believe you got involved in that match. I'm going to punish you by putting you in a match with Batista and Edge for the world title at Armageddon.
That's pretty great.
Really good build. And Taker's face the entire time is really funny, because when Teddy comes out, Taker's got this like really flushed like face, and he's just looking at Teddy like, Like really confused the entire. The camera zoomed in on his face. Maybe editor Tucker try and get that photo of Taker looking really confused.
I think I know what it is. Yeah,
it's just like, all-time funny segment. And Edge, Taker, and Batista have great chemistry. It's really fun to watch the content unfold between them. Vicky's good at what she does. Teddy's good at what he does. It's good TV to end the year on SmackDown. And so yeah, I think I'm pretty high on this reign.
I think I am as well. I think I might even say it's
A.
Yeah, that's where I was as well. Yeah, crazy.
Because I like the way he wins it as well. This is again Batista. I'm a huge fan of Dave's run in this whole period. I think babyface all conquered Dave is a really good character, and I think this is another good run from him.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's I think all of the Dave reigns have been pretty decently rated, haven't they?
Let's have a look.
Maybe except the second one.
2 B's and a A.
Yeah, that's pretty damn well. That's pretty damn good. We have come to the last one.
Edge 2. He wins that title at Armageddon. Then he beats Batista with the help of his lackeys in a 1-on-3 handicap match. 2 matches against Ray. One at the Royal Rumble, one at No Way Out, and then a match I guess we don't have to talk about at WrestleMania. Although I guess since it's the last one, why don't we include the last match as part of this reign?
I mean, that makes sense. Be what most of the reign is for me. Yeah, but
fair enough. Yeah. Okay. So this is Edge's run is probably arguably his most content filled run because it's obviously the build to Mania. He's the champ going into Mania.
Yeah.
He's got the Goons. He's got La Familia.
There's a trio of baby faces to fight him.
Does Hell's Gate get banned now? I think it gets banned later, doesn't it? Or does it get banned for this match?
I genuinely don't know. I know that gimmick's in there somewhere. I want to say it's after because they need something to do going forward.
Yeah.
Let me look at the Taker reign. Taker gets hurt again immediately, doesn't he?
Yes, because he comes back, indeed. And then Teddy Long gets dragged under the ring and then tells Edge he's going to fight him at SummerSlam in a Hell in a Cell match. I think somebody also gets thrown under the ring during that match.
Wait. Oh, yeah, whoa, the belt. Oh, they must be building to some kind of defense in May, and then it never happens because Taker gets hurt, and then... I don't know, if you flip over to the next reign there, right, it doesn't have Taker losing it. It has him beating Edge at Backlash, but then if you jump over the Edge reign, it's got World Heavyweight title versus Undertaker's WWE contract TLC match for a vacant belt. Edge beats The Undertaker in 23 minutes.
Oh, I think Taker gets the belt stripped because he uses Hell's Gate.
Oh, and then he gets hurt.
That makes
afterwards?
Sense. Well,
yeah, okay.
They're fighting again at SummerSlam. I don't really know what happens in the middle, in between that. Or I'm fairly sure they're Hell in a Cells at SummerSlam. Is it not? Is it 2009?
I've got Punk versus JBL for the World Heavyweight title at SummerSlam 08.
I don't think it was for the title.
Oh, that's probably it then. Nope.
Yeah, Taker versus
Taker
versus
sorry.
Edge, Hell in a Cell.
Taker Edge. I don't know. Yeah. I was looking for Taker Batista again, but yeah, Taker Edge. I see.
Oh yeah, this is the start of the Punk stuff because Punk wins the money. Yeah, the Money in the Bank at 24. Yeah. Okay, that's starting to make sense.
Anyways, this feud is okay, or this reign is okay.
Yeah, I'm really struggling with this reign. I think it's important.
I don't have a lot to say.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's totally fine.
The Mania match is really good, if we're including that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Mania match is really good. The Edge heads are a fun gimmick.
It does feel almost like a epilogue, weirdly.
A little bit.
Because it goes on for a while, and they heat it back up, I think, a little bit at Mania and afterwards.
Oh, yeah, they for sure do. But this is definitely the petering out of the Batista Taker Edge thing.
But yeah, I think losing Batista definitely hurts it. But I think it's still good. But I can't summon a huge amount of enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, I
So
really
maybe
can't
it's
either.
It's just B.
Yeah, I would agree. It's average. It's fine. Acceptable.
Okay. I think we can do this quickly because I think we've probably recorded a lot of footage. But do we want to order these like intermingled with the WWE titles? Actually,
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
ask you this:
Should I open-
do we want to intermingle, or oh yeah, I just realized that you haven't been able to see the tier list.
No, yeah, I realized very early on I should have opened Twitch or something like that in order to see it.
I think
but
that's
was
probably
also
the best way for you to see it at the moment. Yeah.
I was also like, well, we'll see, whatever.
We can either intermingle them, or we can just order the World Heavyweight title reigns. Up to you.
I think. I think maybe we should do just the World Heavyweight title reigns, and then we could go back through at some point
and reorder them.
Maybe reorder them all together at some point when we had done maybe, I don't know, another one or something like that, or something else in that context that we could add to there.
I'm also seeing here that if we were to move 1B up and 1B down, we'd have a little bit more of an even tier list. And if I remember correctly, Batista 2, you weren't convinced on being a B. Should we move that down?
Yeah, we could move that down.
And then is there any of these that are...
There we go. The ads have finally ended.
Any of these that are on the verge of A?
The answer is no. If you had to move one up there,
maybe Batista 1? Hell in a Cell,
maybe
Triple
Batista
H,
1,
Bradshaw matches.
Maybe Goldberg.
I don't think there's enough there. I think Goldberg's a solid B.
Maybe Randy Orton.
Maybe. You were originally on C with Orton, though.
Yeah, but I can kind of recognize why I thought that, and also agree that it could go higher. Like, because the action itself is good.
It's just everything comes after.
Around it that's ass. But if you're just rating what's on the screen, I mean, hell,
I think
it's pretty all right.
I think Batista 1 is better overall than that first Orton reign, just because of all the bullshit with the Orton getting his legs cut under him and it being a month-long reign and how much of a negative impact that has. Like, on the flip side, Batista 1 has such a positive impact on Batista's career. And he has the title win, which is great. The Hell in a Cell, which is really, really good for what it is as well. And then the Bradshaw matches, which are pretty good. And you've got to, it's probably, for a while, it's probably the best SmackDown was in that period, because as soon as Batista leaves, it gets a lot worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it dries up real bad, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Throw Dave up one then.
Okay. I guess we would pull this back to there. And I guess we would pull this. Nope, that's right. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's start at the bottom then with the F tier reigns.
Yes.
Let me just remind myself which Triple H reigns these are.
Those are 2 and 4.
Okay. So 2 is the Reign of Terror.
Yep.
And then 4 is the one where he takes it off of Orton.
Yes.
And does fuck all with it. I think they're fairly similar. I think
the Reign of Terror is worse.
Okay. I think the Ray one is probably better than all of these.
Yep, I agree.
And then I think I would probably lean towards Kali
worse than all of these.
I would lean towards Kali maybe being better than the Triple H ones. Because I don't actually think Kali's that far away from C. I think he only leads... It's F because of the implications. But match for match... I think, actually, interestingly, I probably do prefer the Reign of Terror to 4. But what I would say is I would argue this is better than 4 because match for match it has slightly, like week to week, it has slightly better content than 4. Actually, was 4 the one where Maven becomes GM in 4? That's actually pretty solid.
Yeah, that is some okay content.
Can I convince you to split the difference and put Kali between the Triple H runs?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll do that then. All right. The C tier runs then. We've got Triple H 3?
No, Triple H 1, that is.
Okay.
Triple H 3, Kurt Angle, King Booker,
And
Batista 2.
Yeah. I think
It's the best
Batista
out of
2
those.
is definitely the best out of all of these.
Yeah, I would agree. Yep. That's pretty easy.
Booker is definitely better than Angle for me. I think Booker's probably going to be quite high.
Yes.
I'm just going to revisit those Triple H runs, but I would imagine Booker's going to be better than them as well.
If I had to order them, I would probably do Batista 2, Booker.
I'm looking at Triple H 1, and I think it's definitely bottom for me. Until I go and look
Okay,
at
I was gonna put it above Triple H 3.
I mean, let's just revisit Triple H 3. Triple H 3 is pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty similar, but if you think 1 is better than 3, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I
I would
agree with
put-
that, but I put Angle above both of them, I think. Just because of the
Yeah, I
Undertaker
would agree
match
with that.
alone.
I agree.
And then Angle versus Booker. I think they're really close, actually. But I think they're really close, so I'll leave it up to you for the order.
I'm happy with it the way it is, honestly, with Booker over Angle.
Cool. Okay, the B tier stuff then. We got Goldberg, Orton, Triple H 5, Edge 2. Triple H, these are all one match runs, aren't they? Goldberg
much,
is Survivor
yeah.
Series, Orton SummerSlam, Triple H is the Chamber, and then Edge is the Mania match. Out of those,
Edge.
or Orton, the Orton match I think might. Okay,
It could be Orton. Oh, fuck. I don't know either. Fuck.
I would probably lean Orton, just because we're so apathetic about the rest of the Edge reign.
Orton, Edge, Goldberg, Triple H.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then the top ones are the Michaels run, the Benoit run. That's Batista 1.
Yep.
Then Edge 1, and then Batista 3. No, that's not Batista. Yeah, that is Batista 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
the-
I was looking for the Taker run, but it's all the way up here.
Yep. I think it's probably
Sean's low because it's very much a one match thing.
Benoit, Dave 1.
I think Dave 1 is definitely lower than Dave 3 because Dave 1 got moved up late.
Ooh, yeah, you're probably. Oh, yeah, you're right, actually, aren't you? So
I
I'd
actually think
probably
Dave
go
1's probably below Sean.
Yeah, Benoit, Dave 3, Edge.
Actually, here's a
Batista
question:
won
What do you think's
Shawn?
the better moment? Batista winning the title at 21 or Sean winning the title in the Chamber? I do think it's Sean, but what
I
do you
think it's Dave.
okay. Then I think
I think
on
it's
that
Dave.
logic we should swap these. Yeah,
I
because
can't see what these are.
that's all Sean. Oh, Sean and Dave 1 because I had Sean above Dave 1, but for
Yeah, I see
me
it there
the
now.
only thing that really makes this Sean run is that moment. And if you think Batista's got the better moment, he also has the better volume. So I think Batista's better than.
Yeah, I think Batista's got the better moment. Yeah, I really do.
I do disagree, but not enough to challenge. Like I think Batista's. This is the least impactful for me if Dave's title wins. I think the other two are better moments. Again, I don't mind the positioning though. This is Dave 3. Dave 3 is
Dave
very
3
much like
over Edge.
almost a novelty run in a sense.
Almost.
Because it's like it's basically the Hell in a Cell and the Punjabi prison. And it's crazy that's how far
True.
this has gotten.
Yeah.
They are good matches, but I think it's very much like the Dave end of the road stroll.
They should be under Edge, which I think means that there
That looks.
is our order.
I think so too. That was actually a lot easier than I thought. We probably could have gotten away with doing it into the WWE belts, but yeah, we'll save that content for another time. Man, this was interesting. I didn't really have too many expectations on this, but I don't think I would have predicted that we would add 4 new Reigns to the F tier and get our first ever S tier item. Are we?
Yeah,
I know we talked about it a lot, but one last confirmation: are we happy with it in S? I feel like neither of us have really doubted it. I think we both think it's an S tier. Right?
I think it's an S. Yeah, if there's anything in that era that's going to be an S, I mean, goddamn.
Yeah, I think I generally agree. Any other takeaways from this? Obviously, the Triple H runs. I think I maybe would have expected him to do a bit better than 2 C's and 2 F's.
Yeah,
but they weren't good runs. They really weren't.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. At least we got the 1B in there for him.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting how like if I could speak, it's so 07 heavy.
Yep. There's 3 of them, I think, across the top 2 categories.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, that era of Raw was really fucking garbage, wasn't it? Damn.
07?
No, like the period
the world title. Raw. Yeah, okay. Well, you say that, but there's also 2 A-tier reigns from the Raw era. There's also, 3 if you count Batista 1, which I think
good majority of the B-tier reigns are the 04, 05 stuff as well.
Yeah, Orton, Goldberg, that's a Raw Triple H reign. And then, as you start to get lower, you do get some of the early Triple H Drock, but there's a lot of SmackDown runs in there too.
There is, yeah. Yeah.
It's I think my takeaway from this is that the Raw runs were really inconsistent. And by inconsistent, I mean it was really good when it wasn't Triple H and it was really bad when it was Triple H. Yep. And then when it swapped brands, it went through a period of instability. And then The Undertaker and Batista were really fucking good.
Yeah, they just worked really well together, and adding Edge as well in that kind of role that he played in there as like the third, almost like a vulture kind of role.
I'm a little confused though, because where were all of Chavo Guerrero's reigns and the Ken Shamrock run?
True, where'd they go?
Weird.
Something's up here. Something's up here.
Fishy.
Are we good to call it there?
I think so. Yeah, I think we've done our due diligence as tier list creators. I think there's a way for you guys to do your own now. I think I can send Tucker a link and you can click on it and make your own and then post it to Twitter and at Tucker.
Yeah, it'll be in the description of this very video that you're watching right now. We've also got links to the Twitch where this was live streamed, the Patreon, which isn't really doing much lately.
Nope. But you can support us, kind of.
That's because I'm God's most overworked part-time employee. Unironically.
God's own.
And I don't know, Putty's channel is also probably down there.
The VOD's channel, where this is, if you want to see it uncut.
Oh, yeah. The VOD's channel.
If you thought there were some weird edits in this video and were like, man, Tucker's really censoring some of Putty's takes, then you can watch it uncut over on Mansutiro VODs.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for hanging out and hearing us talk about things that you've probably seen before.
You should, in the comments, tell us what things do you want to hear us talk about? What?
Yeah, should we go on to the mid-card belts?
One suggestion I've had is like shows, events. Maybe we could do like a 2007 pay-per-views tier list. That's a good one. Top 10s, things like that.
Yeah. Please do let us know, because it would be super helpful to figure out what we're doing going forward. And at some point here, we'll get back to doing TW.
Yeah. 08.
It's all on me as God's number one most overworked part-time employee. Yeah. Anything else you got to say, Putty?
Hopefully with the US and UK elections this year, they'll push Canada to change their workers' rights laws.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Anything you got to say, Putty, at all, or?
I think I've said all I need to. Thank you for watching.
Fair enough, folks. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Peace. All right, cool. We're out.
Cool.
Not like I was recording.
Wait, I was gonna say you don't get to decide when we're out.
True.
Check over,
Nice.
make sure anything's. Oh,
God no.
where's my Twitch gone? Did I just close Twitch? I'm a very clever person. How long did we go there? Was it
3 hours.
Jesus? Yeah, it felt like 2.
Yeah. I had thought it would be 2, but
I think
no.
we did a lot of rambling at the start, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I did a lot of pre-ramble. I don't know. It's hard for me to not get on here and be like, yo, I can just talk about wrestling stuff. Cool.
That's fair. That's why we should be more consistent.
Or even I should
doing podcast stuff.
Yeah, or even just me on my own, right? That way I wouldn't have to come on
true.
here and just info dump on people. I could just say things in my own time. But yeah.
No, I mean, it's good. If we were a bit more consistent with the way we do things, I think we would probably have a good podcast.
Probably.
Or if I watched more wrestling still, because I barely fucking watch wrestling these days.
I kind of am also barely watching right now, but
all right. Well, I think that's it. Twitch still looks like it didn't completely shit the bed, so I will.
Big.
Yeah, amazing. I'll check the recording and make sure that's fine, and then I'll send it over.
Awesome.
Anything else we need to go over on stream?
Nobody's live with us right now, are they? Oh, maybe one person
maybe
is. That
one
might just
guy.
be me. That might just be me.
Goofy was here earlier. Goofy left a comment.
Oh, okay. Anyways, yeah, I'll try to get this edited next weekend. No guarantee I can get it out that quickly, but it should be done the next week. Oh, wait, no, shit, am I busy next weekend? I am for a bit, for at least one day.
Do you have any preferences on the VOD? Like, would you be alright with just sending it in a couple days, or do you want me to wait until closer to the...
Yeah, no, you just send the VOD whenever. Yeah,
right.
And I'll make sure I download it that night. Because I'll be working probably during the evening whenever you send it, but I can download it.
Oh, wait, sorry, I meant, like, publish it when I said send it. I mean,
yeah, you just throw it up whenever you want, really.
Okay,
like,
cool.
If people are tapped into the VOD's channel, they can find that, and that's awesome.
I don't think, like I said last time, personally, I don't think it cannibalizes the viewership at all. I think the people who are going to watch the VOD aren't the same people who are going to watch the video.
Nope, I agree. Like, I imagine the VOD is kind of more expected to be background noise for people. Yeah. Which is cool. That's the funny thing.
The last one you released was still almost 2 hours long.
Yeah. But I mean, it was worth it, I think, because I don't know. Like, I mean, I hit the point where, I mean, you'd seen the initial edit. I had planned to probably cut a fair amount of stuff. And it was like, well, it should probably be more conversational. And so I went the other way and said, well, a lot of this is important, actually. Like, it adds to the whole thing. The vibe of it, figuring out who the hell we are, what the hell we think about things, the way that we joke about things. Like, if it was like a new viewer and stuff like that entirely.
For sure. Maybe you could release 2, you know? I literally just had this idea. One is like the version you just did, where it was like an hour and 50 or whatever. Yeah, and it's mostly just like cutting out when we were AFK or
Ming and high and stuff like that.
Yeah, and adding like the visuals, which I think are really useful and cool.
And then
a second version where it's literally just like a snippet of each reign. I did a 10-minute video, like the best sentence you can find from the section, and then it's literally just like a 10-minute video.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. It'd be the Kali one. It'd just be me being like, or what? Whose reign did I totally utterly flame? It was that one Triple H reign. It was the Reign of Terror itself. Where I was just like, this is the worst championship reign I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Yes, it was the Triple H reign. Yeah,
that would be the only line in that section.
I think you ended up summarizing the Kali reign really well as well. there was a point where you finished talking, and I was like, yeah, you've convinced me from CF to just F from that. I think I went pretty hard on the Ray run, so I think probably the Ray one is there'd be a line from me somewhere in there. Same with Taker.
And it sucks too, though, because it's like it's hard with Ray and Kali in such close proximity. Because the Ray one is like a guy who you'd love to see succeed, and just the booking doesn't let him. And then the Kali one is a guy who you really wish wouldn't be anywhere near that spot, but the booking is
almost
parted the Red Sea to let him walk in. Like, yeah, they'll do everything in their power to try to make it happen for him, and it just won't quite. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to finish off the stream. Thank you for joining me, Tucker, and good luck with the editing. Check out Silly Tuck over on YouTube for the full release. And if you're new around here or you're watching the VOD for the first time and you enjoyed that, go check out our TW series, because even though it's mostly fantasy booking, Tucker does like to rant about wrestling there too. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.